What's up, everybody? Welcome to PS I Love You XOXO episode 76. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the future class of video games blessing, Adeoye Jr.
Greg, do you know what I did last night?
I don't know you did. No.
I went to Google Docs and I put together.
Good Lord. Let me also introduce the game playing roller skating, Janet Garcia. Hello, Janet.
Hey, I'm excited to hear about this Google document.
Oh my God.
I went into Google Docs.
You? Yeah.
And
I am so excited.
Here's the thing, I'm going to rewind a little bit, right? Because we just got done with E3.
Take it back. Explain what a Google Doc is to me.
So Google Doc, there was this company named Google. They were founded early on in the internet age. Search engine, it was this big deal. A lot of people used it. Eventually, they made this thing called Documents, where you can go in. It's like Microsoft Word, except it's live and it's on the internet, and so somehow it's better. But this last week, or a couple weeks ago, this last month, we got E3, right? Where we got a bunch of different video game presentations, a bunch of game announcements. This guy named Greg Miller hosted it, and a bunch of stuff happened. One of the things that happened was somewhere in there, I mentioned that there are so many games this year, and I got to figure out a way to put it in calendar form. I gave a shout out to the GG folks who, if you remember GG, they're the website that is basically the I was going to compare them to the film one. I always forget what the film one is called, but they basically have like this thing where you can rate video games.
It's so much more than just a website. It's an app on your mobile phone where you can go in, make friends, see what they're playing, what you want to play, make lists of your favorite games, your least favorite games.
Letterboxd, yeah, that's what I was going to tell you.
So it's basically the video game version of Letterboxd, if you're familiar with Letterboxd. And one of the things I mentioned during our E3 streams was, man, it'd be awesome if they had a calendar feature so that I could know all the games that I've set as my want to play for the rest of the year, if I could see them on a calendar and see them coming up. So what I did last night is I went to Google Docs, and they are working on that, by the way. They did like respond to me, and they're like, oh, this is the feature we're working on, which I'm very excited for. But because they don't have it yet, last night went to Google Docs, and I spent an hour working on a document that was just all the games that I'm looking forward to for the rest of 2021, laid out by month, made out by release date. Barrett, bring up the asset. I said, and here's the thing, right? I said I have it starting toward the end of June, because we're in June 28th. In a couple of days, we're getting Doki Doki Literature Club Plus, which I'm looking forward to. When you scroll through the doc, the thing that has struck me is that there are so many video game releases that I personally am very excited for, and I'm not going to be able to play them all, and it's become a problem. And and if you guys have the time,
scroll back up.
Greg and Janet, I need your guys' help.
Hot Wheels Unleashed.
Oh yeah,
that game looks dope as fuck, Greg.
It looks rad. Have you seen the trailer?
No, I haven't.
All right, hold on.
I'm just saying, all these games laid out that you're never going to be able to touch or get there. You got Hot Wheels Unleashed on there as a can't miss.
Oh yeah, definitely as a can't miss. The thing that's heartbreaking though is that there's so many games coming out, especially in September and October, and towards the end of August, where I'm like, I'm not going to have the time to get to these. Sure. And so, like, if you have a chance to bring up the list again, I want to get Greg and Janet's opinion on like
building the list.
Building the list. I need help. By the way, this is Hot Wheels.
This is more important than your list. This is Hot Wheels. What is it? Hot Wheels Advanced?
The multiplayer? Hot Wheels Unleashed. Is that multiplayer?
Unleashed.
I believe
it's got to have multiplayer in there.
So what is it? Is it a kart racing game where I'm a Hot Wheels car?
Yeah, and you can build your own tracks. There's a creativity aspect to it.
Can I build my own car?
I don't know. I think I would assume so.
But it's also fun because like the environments are like full like rooms and stuff. So you are the size of a house.
Looks like I'm in like a classroom here, some kids' room.
Yeah, and this is one that I'm gonna play. Maybe a weekend, maybe for a day.
You don't need that much time, like 80 hours into Hot Wheels Unleashed. Like I think you're kind of overshooting.
Yeah,
the time.
Like, I don't think this is.
He's going pro, Janet. That's how he's gonna leave us.
It's not gonna be the next Knockout City where 40 hours in, I'm like, oh no, what have I done? I'm gonna play 2 hours of that and be good with it.
But to be fair, Bless, did we expect to put so much time into Knockout City before
Absolutely
it came out?
not.
Exactly.
You got to leave your dance card open sometimes. You know, something comes in.
Yeah. So I can't afford for that to be.
I think you can start off by taking out the stuff that is just rehashing old stuff. Like I think Doki Doki Literature Club. Like, have you not played that game? Is that why you want to hit it?
No, I've played it, but I really love that game.
And it had its time. It's just take it out.
I don't have Doki Doki. I don't have as much of an issue with because there's nothing out for.
See, this is your problem. You are you asked us to come in here and to cut stuff down, and now you're pushing back.
I don't need. Specifically, end of August, September, and October are the months I need help with.
So you're telling me right now you don't have a backlog of games you need to play?
Oh, I do. I do need to get back.
Why don't worry about Doki Doki?
You're out here sinking
I love Doki Doki.
But here's the thing: is like it might be fun to see like how they translate it to consoles because there's some like very specific.
He can catch it on Twitch.tv/kindafunnygames when Snowbike Mike and friends stream it on Friday. All right,
gotta make
new content.
Gotta make Nick play it.
And there's new content. And Doki Doki is one of those games that I love so much that I'd probably be willing to platinum it, depending on what the trophy list looks like. It's one of those games.
You're
I really,
adding even
really
more
like
time
Doki
to
Doki.
it. Like you're going in the wrong direction. Let's keep scrolling to the list.
So I know you talk about August, but you don't have in August Black Panther War for Wakanda expansion up there. That's weird.
Yeah, I don't really plan to jump into that one.
12 minutes. We already know how long that's going to take. That will be done in half an hour. If you're really good at it. No, I have no idea.
So end of August, right? The problem I run into is 12 minutes, August 19th, which certainly I might be able to finish by August 24th, depending on how long the game is. But I get into Kena Bridge of Spirits August 24th, and then 3 days later, No More Heroes 3.
Sure.
And that's the start. That's the start of it. That's the start of when things start to fuck me, because I don't think I'm going to be able to beat Kena Bridge of Spirits, depending on how long the game is, depending on how much other things I have going on, by the time I get to No More Heroes 3.
Did you miss Hades the first time around?
No,
That's another one.
I played most of Hades. I never finished it. And with cross save, I want to end up finishing it on PlayStation.
Wait, do you mean like you never did a clear, or did you never do like the thing where you have to clear it like 7 times to get the true ending?
I never did a clear. I got to the ending of stage 4. I want to say I got to the boss fight where you're fighting multiple characters.
That's the third one where it's like the bull looking.
Snakes.
Yeah. So I want to go back and I want to finish it on PS5. Fingers
crossed. You're focused too much on being who you should have been last year or a few years ago. Like you got to let Hades go. Like if you get to it, I think that's fine. But I think if you're looking to slim down, I think Hades is the obvious cut. I think No More Heroes 3. If you need to cut it, I feel like it's fine, or even just push it back. Like,
and real quick to toss in here, Polygon does report, as I thought I remember reading this. I wanted to make sure, but yeah, Polygon's reporting from Supergiant that the Xbox and PlayStation versions of Hades won't support PC cross save feature that Nintendo Switch has.
Damn it! God damn it! Okay, then I'm gonna knock off Hades off the list.
I feel like it's worth starting over. Like, I think it'd have some fun trophies and stuff too. Like, I think that'd be an interesting one, but it's such a long grind that I think that's something that you should install and then just not play. Like,
Hades is also not.
Let's be honest about it.
Hades is also in a decent place in terms of timing, because the only game near that is Skatebird, which is coming out the day before, and I don't think I'm gonna get hooked on Skatebird. I think Skatebird is one of those games I'll play when I have the time, and so I might be fine for Hades.
But you'll have a few days before 12 minutes hits.
Yeah.
I'll be fine. Hey, I can
be really good at Hades. I don't know.
Days or 6
Blessing,
days.
I slacked you the Doki Doki Literature Club plus trophies.
Perfect.
I started looking them, but I know the hook of Doki Doki. Like I know how it starts and where it's gonna get crazy, but I don't know. I'm waiting to play it on console, so I don't want to read through them to spoil anything for myself. But you can give it a gander. You can decide on your own.
There does seem to be 1 or 2 trophies that might be a little bit to try to knock out Bliss, but
yeah, I'm looking at it.
It's hard to tell if you could do it in one run or not. That's the real question.
One trophy I'm looking at seems like I might have to do it in 2 runs.
Yeah,
but I'm not positive. So
Janet, I see you out here doing God's work. All right, and welcome back to the show. Of course, if you missed last episode, Janet, now at PS I Love You part-timer. She'll be filling in for me when I go on paternity leave.
Oh shit, I missed a lot.
Yeah, lots changed, Baron, since you went to Cleveland. You got a shirt finally?
You can't really see the logo from the angle of the camera. You just see, it looks like I'm wearing something that's just incredibly faded, but I'm not. It's a new shirt. I'm excited about it.
Kindoffunny.com/store. I see you out here, right? You're like Marie Kondo right now. You're trying to get Blessing. Does this game spark joy? And he refused. He's like, he's on an episode of Hoarders. He's not letting go on any of his games, right? But believe it or not, as if we plan the show when we really don't, I have a question from patreon.com/kindoffunnygames where Sean Childers writes in and says, when clearing a backlog, what is the best method for doing so? Currently, I've decided to go by series, beat it, then knock out a few one-offs, then go to a new series to beat. Right now, I'm working on the Yakuza series, started with 0 mid-May, and I'm now on Yakuza 5. Janet, as you see Blessing struggle with your great advice of what games to cut, he refuses to do it. He wants to play things he's already played. What is the best method for clearing a backlog? Excuse me, sir. We're giving the new host the floor. Blessing. All right, you've had what 75 episodes to say whatever you wanted to say. Now it's Janet's time. Janet, what's the best method for clearing a backlog?
Yes, the true best method. You heard it here first, and you'll hear it here last because no one will question it. I personally like doing the time-based method where you go in a couple of different ways. One, I would hit up the games that have sequels coming out soon. So for me, like when I look at my backlog, I'm like, I'm going to hit up Horizon. I'm going to finally finish that so that I can be ready for when the next one comes out. So I go in priority of that. And then I would maybe look at how long things take to beat. And then I would look at maybe knocking out entire series. If I'm completely like, if you never played, I know I keep bringing up Jak and Daxter. If you never played that, it's like, okay, you can get around to that at any time and just knock those out in succession. And you probably are safe from it being relevant anytime soon. Like there's no indicator that it's going to become relevant. So I always put those off to the end. Like if you like Uncharted, I think is a good one where it's like, all right, you can just dip into that at any point. Sure, will they do more, spin-offs or more things? Maybe, but those also stand alone and it's kind of fine. So that's normally how I go about it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, right? I think for me, you're right that it's an imminency thing, right? I have on my PlayStation, or on all of the consoles for that matter, but for PlayStation in particular, it loaded with games that I know are cool. And a lot of times it's, hey, I saw this and I want to make sure I get back to it, or I remember that it's cool, so I put it on the hard drive. But I will do that thing every 6 months or so, or when I run out of space of, all right, let's go in here. What am I actually going to play? This has been, I think of it kind of like stocking a grocery store or a movie theater, where it's like, there are all these things that are on the list there, but I have not made the time in 6 months to go play this. And am I actually going to, not to mention that deleting it doesn't mean I'm never going to get back to it, but it does mean that it's not happening anytime imminently, right? And I think, Janet, when you're talking about sequels, that makes a lot of sense, because like for me, it's the same thing of like, I had gotten Hellblade, or not Hellblade, the Senua's Sacrifice.
Hellblade, yeah.
Is
Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice.
I'm thinking of Heavenly Sword. That's where I got hung up. Sorry. Ninja Theory.
What?
Anyways, so I had Hellblade. I played it for a little bit, and I was like, I'm gonna get back to this. And then Jen had played it and fell in love with it, and I watched her platinum it. And I was like, all right, even though I didn't play this, like I get the gist of this game. I see what's up, and I like what I'm seeing. Now with the sequel coming up soon, I know I need to double back, and I want to go through and play Hellblade and actually platinum it myself. But that's not an imminent thing. That's not something on the PlayStation right now. That's not something I'm super worried about. For me, it's always about, if you're trying to keep up with the conversation of what's happening, have a taste of what's happening, then get ready for sequels. And then what Sean's doing here is having a passion. If you're into something and that's what you want, like I'm such a vibe gamer. I have to be in the vibe for a certain game, and it's killed me so many times where I know I would love this game on a normal day, but I'm not in that mood right now, and it sucks to try to force it, and I never do that with games.
Yeah, that's the thing that screwed me with Persona 5 Strikers and the latest Nier game that came out. Was I started both of those, and as much as I love both those franchises, I just wasn't in the mood for either of them at the time. And so I ended up playing other things, and I want to go back to both those games because I hear such good things about both those games. But it's the thing of, now I'm running out of time. For me, when it comes to backlog is kind of a seasonal thing for me, where I get to them towards the beginning of the year into the spring, because there are less games coming out. Like now into the rest of the year, I'm kind of screwed in terms of how I'm going to tackle that. And I'm trying my hardest to like not let certain games that I want to play end up becoming backlog. Like Mass Effect 2 and 3, I still haven't started yet, and I want to get through those games. Or I at least want to start Mass Effect 2. And then also, what was the latest? Final Fantasy 7 Intermission I want to play as well.
Intergrade.
Yeah, Intergrade. And the Intermission is the DLC. Intergrade, I believe, is the whole package.
Yeah,
and that's one that I am, now that we're starting to get into the thick of it, shout out to TikTok. Now that we're starting to get into the thick of it, I'm like, okay, I might need to schedule things out. And so last week, that's what I did, where last week was the week of Guilty Gear and Chicory. And now I've beaten Chicory. I'm still into Guilty Gear, so I think I'm going to play a little bit more Guilty Gear this week. But this week, in terms of single player, I think the thing is going to be Final Fantasy 7 Intergrade. And then next week, we'll go from there. Maybe that'll be Doki Doki. What's up, Greg?
Have you ever thought, and Janet, this is open to you obviously as well, or have you ever done it, where you actually put on the calendar and what you're going to do and limit your options in your free time? Because I often go back to, there was a time where I was trying to juggle so much, I felt, between video games, shows I wanted to watch, and comics, that then there'd be the paralysis of choice, and like, oh man, I have too many things to go, and nothing felt right, because I always thought maybe I want, grass is always greener. And I remember doing it for a couple weeks, where I did schedule out, like, tonight's a comic book night, and I put it on Google Calendar and stuff, and it was inspired by Ron Gilbert, because when Ron Gilbert had come through for an Up at Noon, we were at lunch, and he's like, oh yeah, so what are you watching? And it's years ago now, I listed whatever I was watching. I'm like, what about you? And he's like, oh, I'm doing this, that. And I'm like, it's a lot of shows. And he's like, well, what I do is, and this is years ago again, is I made a little schedule that I put on the fridge, and I treat all the shows I'm watching via, I might have, whatever Netflix was back when we were talking about it. I'm doing it as if I have my own TV network. So even though I could sit down and I could marathon through Ozark, right? He's like, Ozark is a Tuesday night thing, and I only watch one episode in season 9. I was like, that is a crazy amount of self-control, but I kind of dug it. And then I get to games right now where it's like, PlayStation's full. I'm jumping around between a million things. I don't know what I want to play, but sometimes I think about it. I haven't done it, but I think about it.
I would like to
do it to a
like
degree.
Yeah.
I do it to a degree. Like I actually am finally starting to reuse my Google Calendar and try to schedule out like my work and my gaming, because I do find myself like I'll play a lot of games because I stream on Twitch, and Twitch has been huge in helping me get disciplined and organized. Like I may not have beaten a lot of games I wanted to beat this year, like a lot of the big marquee games, like I haven't finished them, but I've played at least 4 hours of almost every major release that has come out, because I do that every Friday. So I'm like, okay, I know that I'm at least going to spend that amount of time with these games, but then the rest of the time gets kind of murky. So I'm trying to like reorient that. For me, I don't like when stuff's too scheduled. It starts to freak me out. I feel like I'm living in a simulation too much, which we might be living in a simulation, but I like to lean against it in case we are. So for me, sometimes I'll just do like a theme day. Like a few years ago, I used to do, and this was like not even streaming, just in my own personal life, I do Throwback Thursday, where every Thursday I'd be playing like an old game from my backlog or a retro game to kind of catch up on that end. Or I'd have days where I would do, back when I was doing like my top 100 games project, where I was playing through like all of IGN's top 100 games to try to see which ones are like good or not as good to me, or ones I've missed, and like looking at other lists on the internet of people's top 100 and playing through those. Like I do those on like Tuesday nights. So I'd organize it to a degree. And I think even though that sounds kind of, it's like what happened to it being like a fun thing? Well, one, obviously this is our job, and two, there's so much that's really the only way to get through it is by being a certain level of organized, or just randomly being like, you know what, tonight I'm just going to stay up late. I'm going to sleep in tomorrow. I'm not going to bed until this game's beaten. And sometimes that's the only way I can get through things too.
Sure.
Yeah. I think for me, the thing that gets difficult is that I as well as I am a vibe-based gamer, and so much of it for me comes down to the itch. Like I will get the itch to play Knockout City, or right now I have the itch to play Guilty Gear, which is why I've been playing Guilty Gear like crazy. And I know this week Apex Legends is getting its new event where they're bringing back Skull Town, which is a fan favorite location in Kings Canyon, and I know I'm gonna have the itch to play that, and I'm gonna have friends that hit me up to play that. And so at any point, if I try to make that schedule's getting thrown out the window immediately, because something's gonna come through and sidetrack it.
Yeah, that's always the struggle, right? I feel like the job is what's great about giving you a review and an embargo, and like now you have to go and you have to hit that embargo. But as we've seen time and time again on our shows and just anything else, where it's like, even if we try to give ourselves an embargo, right? Like we want to talk about this game this month on this day or whatever, inevitably you turn it on, you're like, well, now it feels like homework and I don't need to do this. I want to play this. Should I be talking and playing something I'm passionate about, or should I be trying to do this thing for whatever stupid segment we're trying to come up with?
Now, real quick, Bear, I need you to bring up September for my list.
I can't believe we're still on this goddamn list.
Oh man, because I need help.
No,
I need you guys help. You guys help me with all the months I didn't need help with.
You need help, but you won't accept the help. But let's look at
Exactly.
anyway.
You're helping me with the parts of the year that I don't need help with. I'm gonna have enough time to play Hades. It is.
You know what?
September.
I can't wait to see you play all these games. Like you better step
I'm
back
going
and say,
to.
oh, I beat all of these.
And there's no
I mean,
way
now that
so like you're in trouble.
Now,
You're
now
definitely
that there's
in trouble.
no cross progression, I'm not gonna play Hades on PlayStation.
Okay,
probably.
Thank you.
But yeah, when you get to No More Heroes 3, because which I know you're not going to delay because you love No More Heroes.
Yeah.
So that's when you get into trouble, where it's like, August 27th, and then Riders
Republic.
But I feel
which
like
I also
I feel
not
like
delay.
those are two games that you could probably play at the same time, because they're two different vibes, and it's not like Riders Republic. There's like a story
mode,
or
a
anything.
narrative you're gonna get lost in.
That's like a fun game you pick up for a couple hours and just kind of like vibe out with. So
the next three are what get me. Because Sonic Colors Ultimate comes out September 7th. That is followed by Life is Strange True Colors September 10th. And then that same day is WarioWare Get It Together.
See, again,
and that day is going to fuck
This is
me.
the easiest setup you've put out there.
Yeah.
Life is Strange, you assume, is what? Same as always, 10 hours? I know they're putting it all out at once, so I'm assuming it'll still be a 10-hour game like the others were. That's easy. You knock that out, no problem, right? And even with it, there's the episodic break. So when you finish a chapter, you move on to the other one. And Chad, I'm looking at you live. Let me know if is it 5 or 3 this time around? Is it like
in terms of chapters?
Yeah. Because all the Life is Stranges were 5, right? And then Tell Me Why was 3. So anyways, just let me know if they've announced that.
But this is the first one that's, or maybe I got this wrong. Is this not the first one that's non-episodic? That's all really.
It's the one they're all dropping at once. I thought it was still gonna be. I thought there'd still be chapters to it.
There's still chapters. Like you'll still feel the breaks, but they won't be released in pieces. So I would take that and do at minimum about one a day. I think.
That's the thing where you're talking about, you're putting it up with, you're worried about WarioWare being on top of it. WarioWare, come on.
That is a, I'm vibing in bed. It is like, 10,
those are micro games.
I've got our iCarly in the background. Let's play some mini games. That is what WarioWare is, and that's what WarioWare will be for the rest of the year. That is like the best, like, I'm gonna like fall asleep in an hour and I don't want to get into anything serious. Let's play some WarioWare. So don't be too concerned about WarioWare.
I think that's a little bit of a struggle there too. Is that for me is a week period with Life is Strange, WarioWare, and Sonic Colors Ultimate. The next week it's Deathloop and Rainbow Six Extraction. Which Rainbow Six Extraction is another one of those games that I'm gonna play as like a secondary game.
True Colors is still 5 chapters.
5 chapters, damn.
All right.
But yeah. I'm going to play that game, Rainbow Six Extraction, whenever the friends hit me up. And I expect that that's going to be a lot because I have friends that love Rainbow Six Siege, and I'm really looking forward to Extraction. But then Deathloop as a single-player game, that's going to be another one that's, 10 hours to 15 hours?
So what you have to do here, if you scroll back up just like a tiny smidge so I can see the top of it, thanks. You'd have to make sure that those first 3 games, with Sonic Colors, Life is Strange, and then what's the one above it? Like... whatever the one above it is. That one's casual. So that'll be like sprinkled throughout the month, you know?
For sure.
The problem is that 3, you have to have all those games not completely done, but like at a satisfactory point before the 14th. Now, if you do Life is Strange every day, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, the 13th, the 14th, you'll basically, at 3, 4, 5, you'll have all 5 episodes done the day that Deathloop comes out. So you just got to keep that pacing if you want to finish that. WarioWare is casual and the other one's casual. Sonic Colors Ultimate, it just depends on what you want to do with that game. If you want to beat it, I would beat it that weekend. If you don't really care, I would just spend 4+ hours with it and then just call it there.
That's a game.
You won't feel like it.
Sonic games you can beat in the weekend very easily. And so that's a good point where I shouldn't be too worried about that one. October, the thing I run into is Far Cry 6 and Metroid Dread coming out pretty much one day from each other. Far Cry 6 comes out October 7th. Metroid Dread comes out October 8th.
You have one glorious night with Far Cry 6, and then you move on to Metroid Dread because, let's be real, you'll know what you need to know for like content and conversation for the most part with Far Cry by like getting a significant taste of the game mechanically. Sure, you won't have maybe how the story ends or something, but you'll at least be deep enough in to have a conversation. Metroid Dread, I feel like you would want to have that be in like as a priority, both in terms of I think it's going to be frankly the more interesting game. 2, I think it'll be shorter. Those are the top 2 reasons why I would prioritize that one over Far Cry. Far Cry you'll swing back to after you beat Metroid Dread. So if you want to play Far Cry, just brush through Metroid Dread and then come back.
See, what's interesting is I think it's such a coin flip here, where obviously we don't know, but with Far Cry 6, I'm more interested to see how they tackle the story in it and what's going to happen with Giancarlo Esposito right as they go through it and play through, and what does he do? How does he evolve? How do they balance trying to be not more serious, but admitting that they have politics in their game versus the crazy, goofy nature of a Far Cry game. And so I wonder if deeper into that. I mean, because right now I feel like we could talk about the systems and gameplay of Far Cry 6, right? Like I feel like it's going to be
we know what that game is going to be.
But I think in the same breath, that's how I feel about Metroid Dread, where it's like that's going to be a Metroidvania Metroid game, right? Yeah. Where it's going to be about getting the next weapon, about doubling back, about finding the new area, and I think people want that comfort food, right? I feel like I don't know. Is the narrative of Metroid Dread going to be something that pushes people to actually have a in-depth conversation?
Something tells me, unless Far Cry 6 turns out phenomenal, something tells me I'm going to jump into Far Cry 6, play it for 5 or 6 hours, be like, okay, this is a Far Cry game, and probably fall off of it because I know what a Far Cry game is.
If you really want to hit both, you could spend the 7th and the 8th on Far Cry and the 9th and the 10th on Metroid and do 5 hours a piece, and then you probably would be able to at least get close to rolling credits on both of them. I've done a lot of like intensive gaming, like with like having, I taught when I first started like freelance journalism, I was still teaching. So I had to like be very strategic. I'm like, okay, 3-day weekend. I like rent, Detroit Become Human. I beat it in a day. I rent this one game. I beat it from Redbox. I return to the Redbox before going back to teach. And then with guides, like stuff's always about, cranking out as fast as you can with like figuring out, okay, well, what do I need to know to like make the pages I need to make? So yeah, if you break it up that way, you could do it. It'd be an intense 4 days. You'd have to game for 4 to 5 hours a day.
Also, like on the other side here, like if Far Cry 6 does kind of like tickle your fancy, as they say, and Metroid Dread, like like you're obviously going to be into, and then you got Back 4 Blood a few days later. The Dark Pictures anthology, for some reason, you have on here. You have
that should be on there. 100%. Thank you for having that on there.
You have 9 days in between Back 4 Blood and Dark Pictures, so you like. You might not even need to like rush through these two before Back 4 Blood, because then like once Back 4 Blood comes out, you could have like a good going back and forth between all of them. Because Back 4 Blood is
you can tell me better than. Sorry, go ahead.
Back 4 Blood will be like the fun, like you're playing with Mike and like Andy and Greg. Like,
Back 4 Blood I can save for a stream game. Yeah, that could be the game I play during work hours.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the thing with Back 4 Blood, where it's going to be destination plays. It's not going to be that you wake up, I think, going like, man, I'm putting 8 hours into Back 4 Blood today. I think it'll be hey, we're all streaming it. Hey, we want to do this thing. Hey, let's finish the one campaign. Let's go for it.
That's a really, really good point.
Dark Pictures is also very
so
chill.
like Janet was saying, we can't knock off House of Ashes on your list here.
Yeah, so I don't think that game will be good. The last game wasn't good. I don't think Until Dawn was good. Hot take. I know a lot of people love that game. I don't think it was well written. It was campy. So you
Until Dawn.
Yeah, Until Dawn.
Yeah.
I did not.
How dare you?
Dawn.
I mean,
how dare you?
No, like that story is
what
it is.
I'm gonna step in.
I'm in on this.
I'm gonna declare myself on Janet Garcia's side of like, you don't have to worry about this game, Blessing. Don't worry about the Dark Pictures anthology.
Like, get rid of it?
Yeah.
No, I think you're worried about it.
You're back. Or you think you should?
Yes.
I think you're just saying you shouldn't.
I just I like it as a co-op game. I actually do plan. I didn't finish Little Hope. And I want to go back and play.
I'm looking right now. On Dark Pictures Anthology, Man of Medan, you have 6 of 31 trophies. On Dark Pictures Anthology, Little Hope, you have 1 of 31 trophies.
Man of Medan, I did finish.
Clamoring for a new Dark Pictures Anthology. Maybe you should put Little Hope back on.
Trophies are a bad barometer.
A game you abandoned.
I beat Man of Medan. I just didn't get the trophies. Little Hope, I did abandon, but I do plan to go back to it.
I forgot about Little Hope. I got to hit that up before this comes out.
I heard good things about Little Hope. So deep into Little Hope, you have the trophy right here. Complete the prologue. Wow. Yeah, you really connected with the character. And the storytelling and the gameplay.
Me and Joey started for first impressions.
It's very casual. And like.
And Ashley Tisdale is in the new one.
Yes.
Ashley Tisdale's in the next one.
She is.
Like the technology, you gotta play through it. It's like a crash that you have to stare at. You know, it's like I don't even like these games, but this is who I am now. I need to play through it.
I love these kind of games. I loved Until Dawn, and I just think that Man of Medan didn't live up to that hype, and then Man of Medan being underwhelming didn't get me stoked for Little Hope. I never even bothered turning it on.
Right,
so now there's another one.
Though. I'm all in.
Yeah. Now there's another one. I'm similar to you, Janet, where I'm like, shit, I need to double back and finish Little Hope or play Little Hope, start it, period, and then get ready for this one. And my hope would be that now that it's the third one into this game series, they're going to have all the, I have a little hope for this one. Double back, that the third one here will actually have some of the fixes people want and make it a little bit more on par with Until Dawn.
But moving on, right? Like,
I love that this is now the topic. We have a topic of the show.
We're 30 minutes into this fucking podcast.
I don't know if you know this. PS I Love You XOXO is our PlayStation podcast where me, Blessing, and Janet nerd out about all things PlayStation each and every week. If you like that, you can head to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames to be part of the show. Even when I didn't expect you to be the same way you were going to be part of the show, like Sean Childers was. Remember, on patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, you can get every episode of PS I Love You XOXO ad-free. You can get it with the post show. You can get it with no ads. You can get it where you can watch us live as we record it, just like Demetrius Newell, Madeline Stanley, and the Lou are all enjoying right now. Of course, if you have no bucks to toss our way on patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, you can get every episode of PS I Love You XOXO free over on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, roosterteeth.com, and podcast services around the globe each and every Tuesday, 6 a.m. rain or shine, unless there's some kind of crazy embargo we need to worry about. Some housekeeping for you on this episode of PS I Love You XOXO. Myself, Blessing, Andy, and Mike all faced off in Mario Golf last week. You can catch the archive and the public shaming that followed all on youtube.com/kindoffunnyplays. That's right. I know I'm talking about a Nintendo game on this PlayStation podcast, but it's important to point out that we have another YouTube channel called youtube.com/kindoffunnyplays, where all of our Twitch archives go up later. So if you'd like to see Doki Doki on PS5 running, you can check that out Friday afternoon, Saturday morning, whenever that archive will go up of what's been happening there. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Donovan Harkness, Omega3, Tyler Ross, Delaney Twinning, Julian the Gluten-Free Gamer, James Hastings, Casey, Andrew, and Elliot. Today we're brought to you by Upstart, Credit Karma, and Freshly. but I'll tell you about that after we finish Blessing's list. So again, what I'm saying is PS I Love You XOXO is our fun show where we hang out and talk about PlayStation and video games. I think this is very much in vain. We will get to the topic of the show, what makes a great PlayStation spinoff, but we still need to try to convince Blessing on what to cross off this list, Janet.
So far, you've
taken nothing off, right?
Yeah, I've taken nothing off.
You're difficult. You're intentionally difficult.
You're not wrong.
That's true. That's very true.
You're not wrong at all.
We've given you the advice. We've told you.
Also,
we've led
I
you.
think too.
But also, like you guys have convinced me more that my list is actually fine, and that I just need to schedule out how I'm going to play these games.
Well, you need to account for the fact that for like the things that you can account for, you have to make space for that. One, release dates changing. Two, things coming up.
At
like,
the very bottom of the list,
dates.
Barrett, bring the list back up. Scroll to the bottom.
Oh my gosh.
I have a list of games that don't have dates in 2021.
Awful.
Yeah, it is. It includes Halo Infinite, Horizon Forbidden West, Unmetal, which is an indie games, Metal Gear parody, Demon Turf, another very cool looking game, 3D platformer, BPM, Bullets Per Minute. It's out on PC already, but it's coming to console this year sometime. Aztec, Forgotten Gods, which I really want to play, Ollie Ollie World, Road 96, Sifu, which of course, come on guys, Sifu, and then Open Roads. These are all games I want to play. And they're coming out, that are slated for 2021 without dates.
Yeah, that's where it gets stressful.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I'm looking at the end of October, and this is going to be interesting. So, like, if you continue to do like the back and forth between Far Cry 6, Metroid Dread, and then Back 4 Blood, when we're playing together on streams and stuff, then you got House of Ashes. I don't know like how long the Dark Pictures games are.
House of Ashes, I think I'm gonna blaze through in one night.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna blaze through that in one night.
You guys schedule that out with Joey.
I love playing co-op games with, and we're really good about doing the long sessions and knocking things out. So that should be fine.
And then like the interesting thing is like how long any of us are gonna put into Battlefield 2042. Is that really gonna pop off? Is that gonna be like we're playing it with Mike on a Friday stream and we play that weekend, then we like just dip the fuck out. But then you got Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy right before Mario Party Superstars.
Mario Party Superstars, yeah. Which shouldn't be an issue. Mario Party Superstars is another one like Back 4 Blood, which I'm going to play on
group
stream.
playing? Yeah, you're going to jump on and play. You're not going to be.
Yeah, I'm not playing that game by myself. Yeah, grinding out for 5 hours. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be my single player for that time.
And like really, like
why is GTA 5 on here?
Yeah. Oh, hold on. We'll shame him.
I'm playing the shit out of GTA Online when it comes out
in a second. So you got Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, and like I would say, like you'd probably want to finish that before Forza Horizon 5. So you got time. Right.
Yes.
Then like Forza Horizon 5, I know you got really into. I
three
think,
and 4.
Yeah,
I love both.
Yeah, so
let's scroll back up. You're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, October 26th for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to be done with that in a
That.
weekend. That's not going to be. Yeah, it's not going to be like a long thing. That's going to be like 3 nights of work, 3 days probably, right? Like Spider-Man.
And then we get to GTA 5. Stop playing Grand Theft Auto 5. Blessing.
No.
Stop it.
It doesn't need to be on the calendar. Is the thing. That's the thing. What you do in your free time when we're not on this call is up to you as long as you're not hurting anybody. But don't
That's when the next
gen
version
I need to
comes
organize myself, and you're tossing GTA 5 out here.
That's when the next gen version comes out, and I need to try that version. One, because fingers crossed, maybe they'll fix some of the loading stuff and the server issues in that game and make it feel like a modern game again.
I mean, it's okay to check out, but like it shouldn't be on the calendar.
It shouldn't be on the calendar.
You should not be carving out like
if they do fix those things.
5.
If they do fix those things, that month is going to be GTA 5 month for me. I'm hopping back in deep into GTA Online.
Is 8 years old. Let it go.
It's a really fun game.
Let him be, Barrett. Let him enjoy things.
All right.
You know, we can't
I'm just
stop
saying,
him.
just make time for
Then
Pokemon
Brilliant Diamond comes out.
okay?
Yeah, like.
Oh, that'll be fine. That's a game that I'll make time for. Like I could be playing a billion games.
This is, I do a lot of like, goal setting meetings and stuff with my family. So I've gone through this kind of stuff before, but this is probably the most extreme version of someone asking people for help and then just not taking.
Hey guys, can you help me get the games off my list? Sure we can, Blessing. Here's all our advice. Fuck you. I'm not taking any of these games off. This is an episode of Hoarders.
More confident. Like, did you like?
You guys helped me realize that this list is actually solid. I like this list actually.
Two wild cards.
We continuously tell you that this is a bad idea.
What's up, Greg?
Your October's very hairy. And you're, of course, taking for granted that that's when I'll leave on paternity leave, which means you'll be doing even more work around here and you'll be even more tired, which means you'll go into bed even early. Yeah. Janet will be here too, honestly, but she can't help you every day. So you're going to be screwed there.
I'm like, just going to turn off all my notifications and let you figure it out.
And then the number one thing
I'm busy playing GTA 5 for some reason.
That's in November. Greg will be back by then. I might take that week off, honestly, just to play GTA Online.
Then who's running the games daily? It can't just be Kevin every day.
Oh, Kevin would be good. He listens to the show. He knows how to talk about video games.
And then the other thing PSA I love you that week is just going to be Janet talking about Jack and Dexter.
We can bring on.
It's the 20th anniversary this year.
Barrett, you'll be on.
So
Jesus Christ.
Barrett and Janet can hold it down.
The other thing you're forgetting, Blessing, Adeoye Jr., is the fact that you might have a new Ghost of Tsushima expansion to play right there. Not even on your list, not even on your coming in 2021. We're going to talk about this right after this word from our sponsors. This podcast is brought to you by Upstart. When it comes to paying off debt, it can often feel like an uphill battle. High interest rates resulting in minimum monthly payments keeps you in an endless cycle of debt. Upstart can help get you ahead. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high interest debt, or funding personal expenses, over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get a simple fixed monthly payment. Unlike other lenders, Upstart looks at more than just your credit score, like your income and employment history. This means they can offer you smarter rates with trusted partners. With a 5-minute online rate check, you can see your rate upfront for loans between $1,000 and $50,000. I've talked about it a million times, but Upstart would have helped me when I moved to SF, had to take out a personal loan a long time ago, and they did not look at my employment or history. I got a bad rate. This would have been beneficial for me. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/kindafunny. That's all one word. That's upstart.com/kindafunny. Don't forget to use our URL to let them know we sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/kindafunny. Our next sponsor is Credit Karma. Credit Karma has always been there to help you make better financial decisions, and now they want to help even more. Credit Karma Money is a brand new checking account where you can win cash reimbursements for making purchases. When you use your Credit Karma Money debit card, you can win daily instant Karma purchase reimbursements on items of up to $5,000. Credit Karma Money has already given away over $3 million in instant Karma to over 50,000 Credit Karma members and counting. Right now, visit creditkarma.com/winmoney to open your free account and start winning instant Karma. Go to creditkarma.com/winmoney to sign up for free and start winning instant Karma. That's creditkarma.com/winmoney. Instant Karma is sponsored by Credit Karma. No purchase necessary. Exclusions and terms apply. See rules. Banking services provided by MVB Bank Incorporated, member FDIC. Maximum balance and transfer limits apply. And our final sponsor of the day, ladies and gentlemen, why it's Freshly. We're all trying to get in shape and eat right. Freshly can help. Their delicious meals are designed by nutritionists and cooked by chefs, making it easier to eat better. Freshly offers chef-made, nutrient-packed, delicious meals delivered fresh to your door. No cooking required. Grocery shopping and cooking can be a pain, especially right now. And with Freshly, you don't have to. Your meals arrive cooked and fresh every week, so you can keep your fridge stocked and skip the trip to the store. Ordering is easy. Visit freshly.com and choose from over 30 delicious, satisfying, better-for-you meals like steak peppercorn, sausage baked penne, or their chicken pesto bowl. Real quick, I bought this for my father. His birthday came around, and he works on a construction site and comes home, and the last thing I think he wants to do is cook and get into all that stuff. So I bought him a Freshly subscription. Every week I pick the meals he gets. He gets a box of 6 delicious meals delivered to his door. Right now, Freshly is offering our listeners $40 off your first 2 orders when you go to freshly.com/kinda. Stop stressing about dinner. Go to freshly.com/kinda for $40 off your first 2 orders. That's freshly.com/kinda for $40 off your first 2 orders. Okay, it's time for Tots. Topic of the show, everybody. Tots.
I can't believe we have an ad before the topic of the show.
Hey, man, let's get it out of the way. Now we can just do whatever we want. We can talk about all sorts of fucked up shit. You know what I mean? Nobody over there is watching anymore. They don't know what's happening. We put this in originally as, of course, one of the PlayStation updates for you. Of course, the latest, greatest news about PlayStation. But it's been elevated to topic of the show, all right? But it won't be just about it, but stick with me, all right? We're going to start over at Eric Kane. He is talking on Forbes about Ghost of Tsushima single-player DLC leaked. Here's what we know so far. According to new leaks, a Ghost of Tsushima standalone expansion is headed to PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. Ghost of Tsushima would be roughly the size of Spider-Man Miles Morales and is set for a 2021 release. Note, this is anything but official. Sony and Sucker Punch may very well have a new DLC slated for release this year for 2020's best game, Last of Us Part 2, but it could also be nothing, just a rumor or bad intel. The leak comes by way of XboxEra.com founder Shapeshaw Nick on Twitter, who wrote, Ghosts of Tsushima, an expand alone type game, aiming for 2021. Not sure how so many seem to find out so quick. Apparently, Nick has some accurate leaks in the past, but even so, take this with a grain of salt. This broke last week. Damon and I talked about an episode of Kind of Funny Games Daily. Us three from the PS I Love You XOXO family have not. Janet Garcia, do you believe this?
Oh, I'm gonna lean on no, just because one, I don't want to live in a world that has expand alone as a phrase. Two, it just seems like a really, like, I think if this is true, it's true in a very different way than we're currently hearing it, because I would just be really surprised if there'd be an expansion that's that massive, especially compared to like the size of the game, which Ghost is a sizable game for sure, but it just seems like it's not quite sizable enough to have an expansion that's that big. Because I think we forget how like lengthy Miles actually is. Like, as much as that wasn't, a full length situation, it was still pretty meaty and took a while, and they had a lot of side content, so it's hard to imagine them doing that. But at the same time, like, I wasn't expecting there to be an Outer Worlds 2 talked about that close to the DLC, and that got announced. So I don't know. I feel like anything is possible, but if I had to bet, I would say no.
Blessing, Adeoye Jr., is this real?
I'm in some form, probably. Like, the Spider-Man Miles Morales coming out super quickly, and when I say super quickly, right, that was from 2018 to end of 2020. That was a bit of a surprise, but even that had that's the right timing, right? I got that right.
You're right. Sorry, pandemic year makes everything feel so weird.
Yeah, make everything feel time's a flat circle. But even that had a couple years there to get developed and come out and all that stuff. A year later, for an expand alone Ghost of Tsushima game to come out, I would find to be shocking and really quick. That said, they did put out Ghost of Tsushima Legends a few months after Ghost of Tsushima, and that was expansive. That was a lot of content. And so, like, who knows what Sucker Punch is up to over there? Like, the Legends was being developed during the same time they were developing the game, and if they've been working on this since then, I guess I could believe it, because they're probably just working off the bones of the original Ghost of Tsushima, and with them, maybe they have a streamlined process where they know how to make a map. They're using the same mechanics. It's new character maybe. But yeah, with how good they are at making, or how good Ghost of Tsushima Legends was coming off of Ghost of Tsushima proper, I would not expect it. I think this is a very big possibility.
It's such an interesting rumor. When we read about it on Thursday, we talked from Francesco. No, that's not even. Yeah, Francesco Di Maio over at CCF, WCCF, who was talking about everything we just talked about, but then was saying the leaker hasn't mentioned any platform, but it's likely to be cross-gen release, which is not surprising considering the main game launched on PlayStation 4. Reset Era Forums member Catharsis T also added it's going to be a single-player expansion. As Sony doesn't have many games planned for the final few months of this year, releasing a Ghost of Tsushima standalone expansion would make tons of sense, also considering the success of last year's Miles Morales. And then right now, a lot of people are pointing out in chat how much smaller Ikishima is than Tsushima in terms of what the actual island is. And if that would be, if you're going to use that, it's a smaller experience, yada, yada, yada. I get so caught up in this one because it's that thing of, I want to believe this, but a year seems so quick of a turnaround. Like, go ahead.
Uncharted Lost Legacy was 2017, right? And that was, I think, a year and a couple months after. Yeah. So there's a precedent there in PlayStation Studios that have this.
But like, okay, sure, there's a precedent, but like, think about it. You're talking about Ghost of Tsushima, Legends, and then this, all within a year, all within a pandemic year, right? Like, and I guess it'd be arguable if it would be within a year, because it would have to be the summer, right, for it to be the exact year anniversary of Ghost of Tsushima. And of course, Ghost of Tsushima was delayed, number one, by what it seemed to be The Last of Us, then by the pandemic. So maybe they've been working on it a lot longer than it would really see. I love the idea. I think it would be incredible. I just feel like in a year where everything's getting delayed, we're seeing the ramifications of having to pivot to work from home, seeing the ramifications from COVID, seeing everything else happen. It'd be crazy to have Sucker Punch be like, yeah, no, I understand that, but we have made a single player expansion on par with Miles Morales. Like, I would fucking adore that. I just don't know if I can believe it. I don't know if I'll let my heart believe it.
This strikes me as a perfect world kind of thing, where if everything was good, if Ghost of Tsushima originally came out in the spring, and if there wasn't a pandemic and all these other factors, that Oh yeah, we have a fall that's free. God of War Ragnarok was never going to hit fall 2021. How do we fill it in a way that's exciting when we have something like Horizon, which may come 2021 as well? Cool. Let's put out an expandalone. That is a weird word. An expandalone Ghost of Tsushima game to come out alongside Horizon and Kena and all these things to really make this fall feel like a banger first fall for the PS5. I think there's something there. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe internally it got delayed until next year because they weren't able to hit the exact date.
I want to believe, Janet.
Nothing's stopping you from believing except for yourself and also logic, but just put those
But again,
things
like,
aside.
we're talking about the topic of the show is PlayStation spin-offs here, right? And it's that thing where, Sucker Punch is no stranger to this, right? Infamous 2 Festival of Blood launched October 25th, 2011 here in the United States after the June 7th, 2011 release date of Infamous 2. So it's like they know how to turn these things. They know how to make smaller experiences. They know how to make expandalone, which I never heard until this article we've read and now has been shoved into our lexicon.
And it would be such a good idea too. I think it'd be a great idea. People really liked Miles Morales. People really liked Uncharted Lost Legacy. What they've established with I don't want to call them expandalone. What they established with the smaller spin-off titles is that they work. You're able to get them out there, making the game a bit quicker, and people like them. People are satisfied with them. People have an understanding of what they are, and you can price them in a way that get around the whole $70 conversation. We talk all about how value is becoming more and more of a thing, especially this generation. I don't want to say the words, but I'm going to say the words. As you have the competition having things like Xbox Game Pass, and then you have on the PlayStation side.
And what's the time on that one? It looks like we got about 45 minutes into the episode with ads.
Hey, that's a record.
That's a Xbox Game Pass.
That's a new record. But yeah, you have games going up to $70, especially PlayStation first-party games. That brings up the conversation of games are really expensive, and it's hard for people to get in, and it's hard for people to, especially coming off of last generation where it was $60, being able to jump in at a higher price point is it's an issue, right? It's a thing. And so being able to release games that are $50 or $40, especially games that have the quality of something like Spider-Man or Ghost of Tsushima, but may just be a shorter game, it works. I think there's something awesome there, and I think it's a good strategy to adapt.
I think it's also an enticing entry point to the franchise. Like, this is still sort of, PlayStation has their staples, but they also slowly over time add to those staples. And now we have franchises that we didn't have, in previous generations that are now staples within the PlayStation community. I think Ghost definitely could be there, but there are people that haven't played that first game, and having an expandalone, I hate it so much, having expandalone that is shorter and at a lower price point would be a really appealing entry point because it's less risk, both in terms of money and also in terms of time.
And having it be a PS5 title.
Map of it. If you want to look at it, you can see Tsushima there, of course, the actual island from the game, the actual island the game's based on, and then much smaller off to its southeast here is Ikishima, another island that is, I would say, being generous as I look off of this map of Tsushima based on the game I played. It's barely half of the first half. I bet they'd probably expand it a bit to make it as big as that first section you're in Ghost of Tsushima. You could have a thing running around there and doing it. Known for its white sand beaches, it seems. Laid back island with white sand beaches, grottos, onsen, a dolphin park, and unique rock formations. That's what I got for you about Iki Island.
Can't wait.
And I would imagine that to be if I was working on this Ghost of Tsushima smaller spinoff, I would make it a little bit bigger so that it is around the same size as that first part of Ghost of Tsushima. Maybe even a tiny bit bigger than that if we want to get crazy, and then also have it be instead of expanding out the island, the whole island is available, and it is about that a story thread that's, let's say, as long as 2x of the first Tsushima game, but it is more focused on maybe getting to know the island or a specific struggle going on that island. We can milk it a little bit in terms of what the content is there, and have there be the character storylines that you had from the first Ghost of Tsushima, but more focused on things that are going on that island. I think there's a lot you can do there that would work, and having it be a PS5 title, since Ghost of Tsushima it doesn't have a PS5 specific version. I think that gives people an entry point if you have a PS5 and you're like, I want to play Ghost of Tsushima that is a PS5 specific Ghost of Tsushima. that'll also come out on PS4, but gives me a good feeling as a PS5 owner to buy a game.
Yeah, you have the
PS5
load
on the
times,
box.
right? You have the amazing graphics. I mean,
Yeah,
Ghost was
ray
gorgeous
tracing
on PlayStation 4 Pro, right? I can only imagine. I know it's been, you can play it on PlayStation 5 with a few bells and whistles, but to have a quote unquote native version for PlayStation 5 and what that would look like, I can only imagine.
I think there's a lot of reason.
This leads to the question, of course, what makes a great PlayStation spinoff? Obviously, PlayStation as a brand, no stranger to them. Off the top of your head, I wrote down Uncharted Lost Legacy, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Secret Agent Clank, infamous Festival of Blood, infamous First Light, and of course Daxter. I know Janet is no stranger to the Daxter right there. Right there it is. There it is. Look at that.
This is actually, I think this might be my original copy that I bought as a kid, actually. This is like one of the few things that I didn't end up selling out of being dumb and thinking, I don't want to play old games ever again. This will be my job.
It just meant too much to you.
Absolutely.
So, Janet, the question I'll start with you then is, what makes a great PlayStation spinoff?
I think it has to have some of the mechanical DNA of what the mainline franchise offers. So, like, if we're thinking of, using Daxter as a jumping off point, probably one of my favorites of the spinoffs that I've played, it has, platforming, and it has weapons. Like, it's not exactly a gun, but it's, you have like the fly swatter and everything like that. So you have ways to like have combat going on, but the traversal is very similar to what you would do as Jack, but it also has like something unique. So like it does have Daxter's nimbleness and obviously his stature. So he's fighting different types of enemies based on the fact that he's, a different character. And it still has like the same environmental like set dressing. I think one interesting thing about Daxter too that's really incredible is that, well, one, it still feels like it's in line with the franchise, even though it's made by Ready at Dawn. And then two, it feels purposeful. Like, I don't really know how the planning went into this because I wasn't, there behind the scenes, but it's such a fun idea to have, this is what Daxter was doing during those, I think it's 2 years before he found, Jack, in between Jack 1 and Jack 2. That's how it works narratively. So it's like, that's such a great enticing idea because now I can play through what was alluded to, and it feels like so smart and planned ahead. I don't know how planned ahead it actually was in reality, but it was like, okay, this is a story that I am already inherently intrigued by because this is what set off a game that I already played and liked and loved. So I think that's really what made it a powerful tie-in. I think also too, it wasn't afraid to lean into its own personality. Again, it's Daxter, and Daxter's sort of goofy. He has this personality of being like the true hero. Like he tries to take a lot of credit for Jack's things, and they leaned into that with having, goofy stuff like, spoilers for the game if you haven't played it, but they have like a section that you're basically like in the Matrix, and it's like, riffing on that, and it's like this idea of playing up his hero fantasies. So it really leans into like who this character is, but in a world that's familiar, and it just hits the nail on the head on all those pieces. And I think that's what made it a great game and a great spin-off game.
Andy Reynolds agrees with you. He writes into patreon.com/kindoffunnygames like so many of you did when I asked this morning if you could please write in to tell me what makes a great PlayStation spinoff. Andy says a standalone story that is both loosely collected to the original game, and I think he means connected to the original game, and helps set up a sequel. For me, more games like Miles Morales are perfect to fill the gaps between the PlayStation lineup. Hope there aren't too many of these though. We do need the bigger, longer, epic releases. And so that's exactly what Daxter did, right? Daxter was exactly as you said, Janet, hey, there's Jack 1, there's Jack 2, and you pick up the story, what's going on. I enjoy when a developer sits down with their world or somebody else's and is like, hey, we loved it. We love the mainline story. We want to do something different, but we want it to be connected to that. How do you do that? What do you make it look like? And I think Steve Bellegarde wrote in really with an interesting way of putting it. For me, it's all about being in the same ballpark as the mainline series, but playing with a different set of rules. Spin-offs are a great opportunity to experiment with new gameplay and story elements on a smaller scale. Lost Legacy did this by expanding on the open world elements of Madagascar's level in Uncharted 4. It also expanded on Chloe and explained the story of Nadine, a character who we'd only seen in a villain/anti-hero role. And again, for Daxter, it's the same idea there too, right? Same ballpark, same story of what's going on in terms of the Jack and Daxter world, but different rules, different characters, different weapons. And then, as we see Uncharted Lost Legacy here from Barrett, killing it on the B-roll as always, it was the same idea there, is that these games come with different expectations when you're not having to deal with something as storied as Uncharted, as storied as Jack and Daxter. Blessing, does that ring true to you?
Yeah, first of all, can we call B-roll from now on? Could the B stand for Barrett? Because I think that'll be very fitting. Yeah, the Barrett roll.
Do a Barrett
but also,
roll.
do a barrel roll. Yeah, but I'm right there with you, especially in the example of Uncharted Lost Legacy. I think out of all the spin-offs you named, Uncharted Lost Legacy is probably my favorite one. And the things that Uncharted Lost Legacy did right for me were the fact that it took a lot of established elements of all the Uncharted games prior and freshened them up and contextualized them in a way that they didn't fit alongside that tried narrative that we've gotten over and over and over again with Nathan Drake. Cool. Nathan Drake is an explorer. Cool. He goes and finds a treasure. He has a relationship issue with Elena, maybe. And I feel like there's a certain formula there that you go down in a loop with Uncharted. And Uncharted Lost Legacy for me was the game that felt freshest after a while with Uncharted, where not only did it have the wonderful mechanics from Uncharted 4 that I felt like mechanically was the best Uncharted game, but also you have a different main character, you have a different vibe for a villain, you have this new setting, and you're framing this story around Chloe and around her heritage as a character and what that means to the treasure, and the way that they connect the treasure back to the character I thought was super well done. And for me, made for an Uncharted game that felt different and fresh, even though it had all the Uncharted staples into it, even though it had all the big set pieces with destruction, even though it had the climbing, even though it had all those same things. Uncharted Lost Legacy still felt super fresh for me to play, and I really loved it because of that. And so I think being able to make a game that takes advantage of not having to fit within that framework of the established series makes the spinoff really good.
Yeah. And I think that's the power of it, right? Like, just like we were talking about with saying ballpark different rules, of the fact that it's an Uncharted spinoff. You know what that kind of means, but you also know that you don't need to worry about exactly what you're saying when it's Nate and Elena, when it's Nate and Sully. The moments you're going to pop for, you can then pop for in Uncharted Lost Legacy, because it's unexpected, right? It is something different out there. And I think something you talked about in there is capitalizing on the Uncharted 4 engine that was so good, the gameplay mechanics that were so good, and I think that's part of what I want out of a great PlayStation spinoff, right? Is the fact that for me, it's about refinement. It's about, you put out this game that is beloved enough that it deserves, a double dip on the world, a reason to jump back in there. That means that you can't miss with it. That means that it has to, you already know what the base gameplay is. You already know what people like to do in your world, but you also know what they don't like to do in your world. And I think you have to go through and trim that experience down. And I really like how JakeBakesCakes wrote in about it to patreon.com/kindafunnygames, just like you can, and says, a great PlayStation spinoff game is a few things. It's concise. This is different than short. They cut all the fat, including only the best and most necessary parts of their original game. Miles Morales' 2018 Spider-Man cut to its most necessary elements. Its story and gameplay has zero buffer, and that's what I love about it. They not only refine and try to perfect the original formula, but they experiment with it. I don't think the current spin-off games are great examples of taking much risk, but Miles Morales adds inventive gameplay elements with the electric powers. They take the world you enjoy and introduce a new side of it. Both Lost Legacy and Miles Morales take side characters and gave them time and character development they deserve. And I echo everything he just said, Jake, about Miles Morales, a game I adored, that I had so much fun with, and that I do think is better than Spider-Man 2018. Right? I got the year right? You know how bad?
Yeah, 2018.
I'm so used to saying God of War 2018. It's rare I have to say Spider-Man 2018.
2018 was a banger year.
Hell yeah, it was. I think, and I adore Spider-Man as well, but I think Miles Morales just did everything better. I think saying it's concise and that's different than short is such a great way to do it. And it's what I've talked about so many times with Spider-Man, where I'm like, after this, I don't know if I need, and I'll gladly take it, a Spider-Man 2. I'd kind of prefer if it was, guess what? Every 2 years, Insomniac's dropping us basically a quote unquote new issue of their Spider-Man universe that is a 9-hour story and all this side stuff to go do if you want to get the platinum or whatever, because they want to tell shorter stories faster, and again, I guess concise stories faster. I love that, and I did love the experimentation, and I did love playing through that and seeing how they refined their cinematography, the way they refined the odd jobs to find around the way with the app or whatever to make it seamless, so you weren't just swinging around trying to find stuff. Like, I know there's plenty of other things people didn't like about Miles Morales, but for me it was the perfect spinoff in terms of taking what already worked and making it even better somehow.
I think for me, go ahead, Blessing.
Well, I was gonna say quickly, like, I think the thing that I liked about Miles Morales the most is the experimentation, which we've talked about a little bit. The fact that they did the app thing for side quests and how well that worked and how streamlined that was, and them using the PS5 so you can go into the cards and actually kind of fast travel to the side quests. Things like that I felt really refined it and made it concise, right? And I think for me at the same time, the thing that I don't necessarily love about the spinoffs every now and then for PlayStation is that they can be kind of short. They can be kind of, and I guess short can be good and bad, right? Because I'm fine with games not being super long. But for me, the thing that I wanted more out of Miles Morales was time for the story and the characters to breathe and live a bit, and for it not to feel as rushed as some points in the Spider-Man Miles Morales story could feel. And so I think it's
your classic, like if they just stopped fighting and talked, they could solve this.
Yeah, like if everybody could just slow down and talk to each other, this story would go so much quicker. But that is a thing that I think can be done well, right? I like the shorter length in terms of hey, we can tell a story quicker and we don't need a game to be super long. But I think it is the double-edged sword of, making sure that your game still does have time to breathe and your characters do have moments and you're able to tell that story that you want to tell within that limited amount of time that you're giving yourself.
Yeah, I have the same like feedback narratively for Miles. I think it was almost like concise, not short, but I think I would actually characterize it as short. I felt like we jumped from, okay, this is ramping up to now it's revealed to now it's concluded. I didn't feel like it had time to breathe. I do think mechanically it is better than Spider-Man 2018, if we're calling it that now. But I think the issue too with this as like a spin-off for me is it sort of sets the precedent that there's like actual Spider-Man and then like these spin-off Spider-Man characters. And I think as, a lot of people are big fans of Miles, and I think having him sort of relegated to like a side story is a little bit disappointing, I think, for people who are fans of that character and wanting to see that fully fleshed out, because I think it does sort of inadvertently cement Miles as a side character to what is the core Spider-Man story. And I think it'd be more interesting to have all of those like games be longer installments. I do like the idea of maybe just shifting completely from here on now. We're just going to go to different like people who are Spider-Man and just carrying that torch and doing these different adventures. But I think as far as a spin-off, my other big critique of Miles is it's not different enough to be a spin-off, I don't think, because it's still so much iterating and polishing what is part of the mainline franchise that when like I saw it listed on here, I was like, oh yeah, I guess that kind of is a spin-off because it's shorter and it is kind of like, it's not Spider-Man 2, and they were very clear in that. So like it made sense in hindsight when I started thinking about it. But I think the reason that I hesitate to even think of it like that is because it's so narratively and stylistically the same game, less of it. And I think that's
two major things to jump off. I want to jump in right away on this most recent one. Then do you apply the same logic to Uncharted Lost Legacy?
I don't, because I think Uncharted was very much positioned as one, Nathan Drake's story, and two, there was so much more content there. We had 4 of them. And then they're like, now we're done for real. And then they're like, now we're doing a side thing. So I think that was a lot more clear cut than like we just started with Spider-Man in the modern era. And now we're like on this side thing that's kind of the same, but kind of different, but kind of not.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you the numbers there at the end. All right. That we already had 4 Uncharted. I'll give you that part. The other part doesn't fly, but okay. And then my other thing was going to be though,
50%, I'll take it.
No, I understand the lens you're applying to Miles getting his own spin-off game or whatever you want to call it, but shorter experience is what I'm calling spin-off here. And and then does that make him feel like he's second tier Spider-Man? My counter argument actually comes in from a response that Anthony put in, patreon.com/kindoffunnygames says, hey guys, I hope you're having a lovely day. What makes a great PlayStation spin-off is when they continually develop side characters we like in the original game. It adds a nice familiarity to what we loved about the base game while also giving characters time to shine on their own. Lastly, adding in some unique gameplay to the side character will always be a bonus to change up the gameplay and add something special to the character you're being played. For me, that's why I love Miles Morales Spider-Man as a game and giving Miles this moment to shine. Whereas if I think it was Spider-Man 2 and it was Miles' story, I think there'd be blowback from people being like, well, Spider-Man 1 wasn't Miles' story. Why are they dropping this in here? I want to know what's happening, Peter. I want to know what's going on, blah, blah, blah. I think almost Miles Morales is that Trojan horse of, fine, it's its own thing. It's not numbered. It is this spin-off game that we're giving you to do it. And then by the end of it, I think you have played enough of Miles, hopefully connected enough with his story and his family, and feel this renewed sense of not only what the MCU is for Insomniac, but of, oh my God, I really get Miles. And for me, it's a perfect parallel to what's happening with the Disney Plus show on MCU, where I think if we would have ended Endgame, Anthony Mackie picks up the shield and says, thank you. And then the next time we see him, he's in the full Captain America outfit. He's out there throwing the shield. I think a lot of people would bristle and be like, oh, but he's not really Captain America. Whereas I think Falcon and Winter Soldier did such a great job of, hey, that guy who doesn't run as fast as Steve, but is always there helping him out. Here's his family, and here's his journey, and here's how he feels about everything that's going on in his life to then get him by the end to pick up the shield and wear the suit, right? It felt like a moment. And I feel like Spider-Man Miles Morales, and this is, my own personal belief on what Spider-Man 2 is going to be, is building to that when we get Spider-Man 2, and yes, we play as Peter, but eventually we switch off as Miles, whether it's clear cut or it's back and forth. You're not going, oh, I don't want to be Miles. You're like, I think they want it to be like, oh man, fuck Miles. That's great. He's years older, and this is what's happening, and what's going on with his mom, and what's going on with Genki. This is cool, blah, 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 blah. I think that's why they did it that way, and I thought it was a smart way to do it.
Yeah, that's my expectation, and that's what I hope, because I feel where Janet's coming from in terms of all right, so what makes Spider-Man Miles Morales a spinoff? Like, what is the spinoff aspect of it? And for what it is, right? Like Spider-Man 1 or Spider-Man 2018, the thing that makes that a mainline game right now is that it's Peter Parker's story and that it's longer. And the thing that makes Miles Morales a spinoff is that it's Miles Morales' story and it's shorter. And I can understand how people see that and they're like, all right, so Miles Morales is just for the spin-off games. That kind of sucks that he's not like the main star. That he's not in the main one of the main roles here. But I do think it is going to build up to what Greg's talking about, where in a game or two, Miles is going to be either like alongside as one of the main characters or maybe the main character, depending on where they go with it. And I think that kind of, in retrospect, kind of turns it into this Falcon and the Winter Soldier kind of thing, or Captain America and the Winter Soldier kind of thing, where they announced Captain America 4. And the dope thing about them announcing Captain America 4 is that we had the Winter Soldier or Falcon and the Winter Soldier to tee that up in a way where we're like, we got this story. We're familiar with Falcon as now Captain America. And now we've accepted it in a way that in the next game, we're all hyped, or in the next movie, we're all hyped to see Falcon.
Like so many mediums.
Sam Wilson. I was gonna say Sam Wilson. We're excited to see Sam Wilson as Captain America in Captain America 4. Whereas to bring it to Spider-Man, and if Spider-Man 2 has both Peter Parker and Miles Morales on the cover side by side, we're gonna be hyped for that. Or even if by the time we get to Spider-Man 3 or Spider-Man 2.5 or whatever they call it, if we get Miles Morales on the main cover and they're like, hey, this isn't the spinoff, this is the main game, we will all be hyped and we'll look back at Miles Morales as this thing that's just building up the blocks for what we're eventually gonna get and be excited for.
Yeah, and I think sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, like for me, it's all about like the cadence and the speed and like the expectation based on the medium and what we've seen historically. Like with the Uncharted example, right? They've had that long history to have what is mainline, and then so when they zag, it makes sense and it's very clear cut. I think it depends on just where they take Spider-Man as a series for whether or not this ends up making sense or maybe not so much. And I think with like the MCU comparison, sure, we did have that, but like all are saying it as if we only had Endgame and we didn't have all these other movies. Like there was a longer history. I am in on the side stuff on Disney because one, I think they do usually do more interesting stuff. Falcon Winter Soldier, not so much, but I think Loki and WandaVision were like totally surprising. I dared like anyone who watched that, like it wasn't that good. Like,
I love Falcon.
That's fine, but
listen, they cut out a lot of shit about the pandemic, which really hollowed out the bad guys. All right,
it wasn't a perfect. The bad guys deserved better for sure. It
felt like, I mean, we're not here to talk about this, but whether or not you liked them, whether or not you didn't, they were out there. But it's like we have such a longer history, I think, even just from the MCU movies. And for me, like if you're just jumping into Spider-Man like as these games and not thinking of like the other obviously ancillary like lore that exists with this character, it is very abrupt to go from mainline to side immediately. Like it feels like there's not room to breathe in the franchise either. So I'm just wondering where they're going to take it and how they're going to make it feel like it's truly evolving over time, because so far I haven't seen them really execute on the evolution, which is kind of like Insomniac's main problem anyway, right? They struggle with, I think, making a masterpiece. They can make amazing games and great games, but they don't really hit that next level.
That's
and
right.
I wonder
you like Rift
how
Apart,
they're going to
or
advance
you don't
that.
love Rift Apart, right?
Not yet. I'm 4 hours in. It's still not like, it's great, but it's not that like, y'all had that conversation a few weeks ago. Right. Will it be like, when will, who's making game of the year for whatever year, like conversation during the, time capsule episode. And I totally agreed with that, where they struggle to get to that next level that I do think they can get to, but they have yet to do that. So
yeah,
anyway,
I think
that ended very negatively. I do like Insomniac, but yeah, that's where I'm at with
it's that weird thing where I would say Insomniac is one of my favorite studios. Definitely one of my favorite PlayStation studios. But I also wouldn't say that they make the best PlayStation Studios games. It's that weird thing where I love their games. I love how their games move. I love their combat. I love how their games play and all that stuff. But critically, it's hard for me to be like, they're out here making the Last of Us Part 2s of the world, or even like.
I mean, I would go back to their year, right? Like, this is something that everybody saw, and and then in 2019 we had that conversation of who was going to get Spider-Man, and it's to what your point is. I think that salient blessing is like. I think even if you were to objectively step back, right? And I know if you go back far enough, we'll find Fuse or whatever. But I'm saying like Insomniac, modern Insomniac doesn't miss, right? Every one of the console games they're putting out are fucking bangers, and they're great, and they're fun, and they're awesome. But are they raising the in PlayStation Studios? Are they raising the medium to these new heights and yada yada yada? And it's that you go back to. I remember at DICE that year when it was, to wrap up 2018. So 2019 DICE, but for the 2018 games, right? When I got to open the thing, or the other people did, they opened the thing, and it was Spider-Man 1 best technical achievement or graphics or whatever it was for that year. And like everyone from Insomniac came up because it was the first time they had like won one of they didn't win a game award, right? Because they were up against fucking Red Dead and God of War. Like it was, right? That was Red Dead's year too. Yeah, it was that thing where like it was going back and forth over and over those games, right? And it was like, yeah, Spider-Man was a great game. I love Spider-Man, like for real, love Spider-Man. But like God of War 2018 is my favorite game of all time right now. I think it's the most complete masterpiece I've ever played, right? And so you talk about like, yeah, they make great games and they're your favorite developer, but are they the top of the pile at PlayStation Studios? No, they haven't shown that yet. But they have the ability to be there. They have the ability to get there. When Insomniac says they're making a new game, I'm like, that's going to be a fucking awesome game. Yeah. But will it be transcendent or whatever? And I know these are such like farting into the glass, smelling them kind of words I'm using to describe video games, right? But I'm saying like what Blessing's point is makes sense to me, where I finished Spider-Man 2018 and adored it, right? But I had criticisms and stuff. Miles Morales I finished and I had criticisms for sure, obviously. But like, again, to my point of all the fat and everything being trimmed away, Spider-Man Miles Morales hit harder than 2018 Spider-Man did for me.
Yeah, and like I feel like it's almost it very much is an expectations thing where Insomniac isn't out here trying to make God of War 2018 or The Last of Us Part 2. They're out here trying to make Spider-Man 2018 and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart and Spider-Man Miles Morales. Like they're out here trying to make games that are fun and that have more of a focus on gameplay rather than transcendent narrative. Did I say that word right? Transcendent narrative and all this stuff, right? They're not out.
They're trying to make awesome video games that are fun to play. Not only are they doing it, they're doing it consistently and quickly. They're like, dang, I think you can
make a masterpiece that's gameplay based, though. I don't think their problem is, not necessarily like Insomniac Drag Hour for some reason, but I just think they have.
This is such a weird like pep talk where it's like you're a B+, but we want you to be an A.
Well, yeah, I mean that's where we're at, right? That's like not anyone can make a great game. This is already super hard to do, but yeah, like I don't think the problem is that they're not digging into story like well enough. I think they just have not broken through that yet. That's all it is. I think they are trying to do that. I imagine they go out there and they try to make what they think is the most phenomenal piece of work they can in the universe that they are creating it in. It just so happens that that's often not quite at that next tier, best, like level that we're talking about. That's all.
And I see Insomniac is a dev that I feel like I'm pretty hard on when I play their games, where like Miles Morales is one where I was like, I think it's good. I don't think it's as amazing as I even thought Spider-Man 2018 was. I played Spider-Man 2018 and I was like, this feels like them reaching new heights. And I played Miles Morales and I was like, this feels like more 2018. And even playing Rift Apart, I'm like, yes, like this is an excellent game. But even still, I feel where Janet's coming from in terms of there are games I played that are pure gameplay, that are even colorful gameplay. Mario Odyssey is probably the best example I can give of a game that I'm like, this is a masterpiece right here. And this doesn't have a story that's pushing it. This doesn't have like, even technically, it's not pushing the envelope. Right? But yeah, like I went to the moon and I jumped
enough, on a bunch of shit,
and I had a fantastic time with the game. Whereas I think Insomniac is that studio that I look at and I'm like, you make some of my favorite kinds of games. You make a lot of games that I fall in love with for how fun they are to play. But I think there's that little bit of more. It is that like hard love kind of thing where I'm like, there is that little bit of more that they can do that I think would take them up to being on that top tier level. And I think they're almost there. Like I think in the next few Insomniac releases, they will probably be there in terms of what I want.
My prediction is that the next Spider-Man game they make will be, and I think it'll be Spider-Man 2, right? I think Spider-Man 2 will be the one that really turns heads in terms of like, holy shit, they're on another level. Because I think you see the hints of them. They've refined what they could refine from Spider-Man 1 to Miles Morales, but I think Spider-Man 2, obviously, it'll be you assume way different setting. I mean, they'll still be swinging around doing stuff. I assume New York, but I think they'll really overhaul that. I think the story will actually give them a chance to really break out and tell their own thing, which I know you could argue they did a bit with the whole Peter relationship in 1 and stuff like that, and what happens with some of Peter's family and friends in it or whatever. But I think this will be the because for me with Spider-Man 2018, in a game I truly adore and love, I think about how long it was and just where sections of it drew, and introducing the Sinister Six was a cool moment of introduction. But then it was what did we do with them afterwards that was cool? I don't think anything we did with them there, the fight of fighting Electro and Vulture, right? And the really annoying fight about, around the smokestacks. That wasn't fun, right? Yeah. But I think back to Miles Morales, and I think of, him and Pete at the beginning trying to stop Rhino and shit. And I was that was just a fun thing overall that, again, was super cinematic and super cool. And so to get them there, to hopefully give them the symbiote, to give them Green Goblin, this is all me talking out my ass about what I think is going to happen in Spider-Man 2. I think that'll be the one that is just fucking one.
And their games are getting more and more refined. I think that's the thing that I mentioned. I think it was Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart where I said this, but that it is one of the most refined video games I've played in terms of this is what it is. This game is really good at third person shooting. It's really good at its movement. The things it's really beautiful. It's technically really impressive. And this game moves at a million miles per hour. The things that we wanted to hit, we hit all of those things. And for that, I think it's an excellent game. But I see them as more refined games than they are truly excellent or quote unquote perfect games, even though no game is perfect. Where for the last 3 major Insomniac releases, even I guess 4, if I include Ratchet & Clank 2016, there's always something where I'm all right, you had it, you're on your way to 10 out of 10, and now it's down to a 9. Whether it be Spider-Man 2018 in the last act with the Sinister Six, or it's Miles Morales. Now I feel the story could have been breathed better or expanded more, or even if it's Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and it's me being man, I wish this game, I guess, went for it more in terms of what it was trying to do with its open settings and all this stuff, right? There's always a thing I point to in Insomniac games where I'm oh man, you almost had it. And I think that by Spider-Man 2, they're going to have it. I think they've taken in so much critique, especially off of 2018 and probably off of Miles Morales as well, that they're going to have the time to breathe. They're going to go for a full price, full big budget experience with the next Spider-Man, and
$100. No,
I think we're raising the price because we know this game is a banger. But I think they're in the place now where they know what they need to do, and they're gonna do it.
Speaking of the place, Insomniac is in, blessing Adeoye Jr. Why don't we pivot over to PlayStation updates and you tell me about what you've tagged here as one of the biggest pieces of PlayStation news this week?
Oh yeah, Insomniac. Speaking of Insomniac, they're looking for people to work on a multiplayer game. They tweeted this out on June 24th. Insomniac is hiring. We have 5 new job openings for a multiplayer project. Come join us and be part of the hashtag PlayStation Studios family as we work on exciting things. They put up job listings for a creative director, a systems designer for multiplayer who would oversee aspects of multiplayer features, mechanics, system design, and more. A story lead, an art director, and a VFX artist. Coming off of this, we talked about this on KFGD, but the thing we didn't talk about as much as I want to ask you guys is what Insomniac franchise fits best for multiplayer. We got Marvel Spider-Man, which we talked all about. There's Ratchet & Clank, which we've talked about. There's Sunset Overdrive, Resistance, and back in the day they worked on Spyro, which of course is now owned by Activision, so that's probably not going to be the one. But let's dream, right? Let's figure out which one of these games, or maybe one I didn't mention, works best for multiplayer. But I guess to back it up a bit, what are your thoughts on this multiplayer thing before you even get into it?
Fascinating. I love that they're just putting it out there. You know what I mean? We all know how the internet works. You all know that, when companies don't try to promote us publicly about this, it'll get found out, it'll get sniffed out. So to put it up on your Twitter and be hey, we're hiring for a multiplayer project. Here are the roles we need for it. I think it's a great way to, just be this is how games get made. You have to hire people, you have to do it. And we're not trying to hide what we're doing. So let's talk about what it is. Janet?
Yeah.
To me, it reads more like they are probably going to add multiplayer or have multiplayer within another, a larger project, just from looking at the listing where it really does emphasize many aspects of the game, including but not limited to multiplayer features. Now, of course, you can argue that phrasing is just to account for the fact that the description includes stuff bugs and doing all these other things that I don't understand because I don't make games. I'm oh, you got to know this thing. Sure, of course. So what else? But I think as far as if like what kind of franchise would be best for it. I feel like Spider-Man, because, you know, one, it could be in that like there's gonna be more spinoffs than there are mainline Spider-Man games, but if it was like in that spinoff vein or in that DLC vein, I feel like as much as I didn't like Marvel's Avengers a whole lot, I think the concept is intriguing and fun, and I think it's really enjoyable to like, you know, swing around, and like the combat's really good. And it's what I really enjoy about like the Spider-Man games so far is that they're that right kind of basic, and by basic I mean like simple, straightforward, not by like pejorative wise, because basic can be good. It's like, all right, I go to a place, I beat up some people, that's enjoyable, I have some quick time events, I'm swinging around, like it's, you know, I can hunt for stuff. Sure, it tells me where it is, but you know what? I don't feel like looking for it. I just want to go, and I get my little story bit, and it's a good time. And I think having that with friends would be super cool. So I feel like that'd be like the best version of that. I don't know if that'd be too competitive within like that same Marvel Avengers space, but I feel like Marvel's Avengers definitely could have been better. And I think they have a chance at doing, if someone
the
does
understatement
that
right, of
2020. Yeah, if someone could do that right, and I think they could. So I feel like that would be what I'd be most excited about.
I think it's, I know I'm talking on my ass here. I think it could be 20 things. I think it's one of 3 things. And so I think if we're talking about Spider-Man, I think it's, some kind of spin-off, exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about Ghost Tsushima Legends, something to that degree, right? Where it's like, cool, the next Spider-Man is, you know, going to be, you're playing as Peter and Miles or whatever, you're switching off single player through the story, but eventually they give you this, you know, standalone mode or whatever that is, you know, whatever story you need to go through and play co-op, similar to what Uncharted used to do, right? Or, so that's one way I think they could go with it. The other one I think is that everybody wants this Sunset Overdrive business. Everybody keeps talking about Sunset Overdrive like they have a horse, like y'all fucking played Sunset Overdrive like when it was on Xbox. I think it could be that
One exclusive. Nobody had an Xbox One back then.
Nobody fucking was playing that damn thing. I think it could. Look at Janet going to look for it. Here she comes. Janet's got to have all the goddamn props.
Yeah. What I'm saying is it's the fault
of
the cellophane. She's never played it.
What's the point of buying physical? So you can flex. Now, did I finish it? We're not here to talk about that. This is a PlayStation show. So it doesn't matter if I finished it, but
it's not Sunset Overdrive's fault. It's the Xbox's fault for not selling.
Yeah, right there. Day one, only on Xbox. There you go.
Cool
Sunset Overdrive, of course, was all about locomotion and this crazy fun world and getting up to shenanigans and being crazy in it. I think if you were to bring back a Sunset Overdrive in 2023, you know, whatever it's going to be, and it was, hey, it's almost like it's going to be, we are taking Sunset Overdrive and merging it with Crackdown, and there's a bunch of random ass shit for you to run around and do with your friends here. You can play it solo, you can play it up to 4 players or whatever it's going to be. I think that would make sense. However, if I was a betting man, I would think it could be the third one, and I would push my chips towards that and think it's a VR project. I think it's a PlayStation VR 2 thing. We know that Insomniac has the chops. They have made a whole bunch of, while we've all been talking about PlayStation games from Insomniac forever, right? How many banger VR things have they put out? I pulled it up over here. I'm looking off of Upload VR. They're talking about Edge of Nowhere, which they gave a 9 out of 10. They're talking about The Unspoken, which they gave a 9 out of 10. Stormland got a 4 out of 5. Then I guess we don't talk about Feral Rights. That got a 5 out of 10. Nobody talks about that. But those are all Insomniac games, right? That Insomniac's been working on. Like, they know a lot about it, and PlayStation does have PlayStation VR too, and I'm sure they are looking for really cool shit with that. And so I could see Insomniac trying to take the lessons they've learned from doing VR on Oculus and bringing it over to PlayStation and be like, cool, PlayStation VR has this tech, it's got more under the hood, it's got this thing, you know, there's either Insomniac in California, there's Insomniac in North Carolina, like, let's get somebody out there actually working on something, because this has always been there's a great article, I tweeted it out and I didn't bring it over. I meant to. Somebody over the weekend did over the weekend did a Vita piece about the rise and fall of Vita, where they were talking a whole bunch they talked to Gio and a whole bunch of different people about it. It was really interesting. But it's echoing the things that I've talked about my entire career with PlayStation, right? And there's one in there I've just been like, oh, the first parties really didn't care about Vita, so nobody supported it, nobody did anything, right? Like, PlayStation VR, a small install base, yada, yada, yada. Like, PlayStation, from what I've been told, doesn't force their studios to work on stuff, right? It is very much if you have an idea for this, if you have a passion for it. Insomniac has a passion for VR.
Do you believe that?
What?
That PlayStation doesn't force their studios to work on stuff?
Seeing as how, I mean, I never got a Naughty Dog Vita game, yeah. You know what I mean? I never got a Sucker Punch Vita game.
Yeah, we got an Uncharted Vita game, you know.
Sure, but I mean, I Tony Bend at the time was excited to do that. At the time, I bet they were like, hey, like, I think, Sony Bend and Uncharted Golden Abyss, and feel free to anytime write in and tell me if I'm wrong, Sony Bend folks, would have been the idea of like, hey, we keep making these awesome siphon filter games on PSP, and they just aren't selling that much. Like, people like them. Greg fucking talks about them all the time. Greg really likes them. Like, what can we do to get us on another level? And hey, why not take Uncharted, or literally our crown jewel of a franchise at PlayStation, and do a Vita version of that? Okay, cool. And then it came with all the baggage of people comparing it to Naughty Dog and this, that, and the other in their series, blah blah blah. And then you're like, all right, you know what? I want to get out. Oh, and I guess actually Resistance Retribution as well before that too, right? Where they're like, all right, let's get out from underneath someone else's IP and let's make our own thing. But yeah, I think that Insomniac's passionate about VR for sure. And I bet PlayStation, I honestly would think that when PlayStation was buying them, that was knowing that they were going to keep being invested in VR, one of those like, okay, cool, this would also work really well too if we could get you guys making stuff just for us.
Now let me throw out a factor in here. Resistance VR.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a real good one, Bless.
I thought you were going to say Resistance. We said on this show, Resistance is dead,
on console is dead. I didn't say
Resistance as you know it is dead, Baron.
That's not what we put in the headline there, boys.
A co-op VR Resistance game would be a great way to great in quotes, a great way to bring it back. If as PlayStation, if you wanted to bring back Resistance, but you're like, we don't have the bandwidth to do this as a regular like console game, but we want something that's going to sell VR and get people excited for VR. Having Insomniac back and having them work on a VR Resistance game, which would probably sell better than just a random new IP co-op or multiplayer game, probably would be the best fit if you're going to have Insomniac do that game.
That's actually really good. Yeah, because it would be the answer. You guys, the hardcore have wanted a Resistance game. Cool. Insomniac's doing a Resistance game. It's going to be on PlayStation VR 2. You have to buy PlayStation VR 2, which the hardcore, you would assume, was already on the fence about doing and being excited about, let alone the fact that, yeah, if it's Resistance. Because it's not like, you're taking, with all due respect to Resistance, a Call of Duty and saying the next Call of Duty is VR only and pissing off a whole bunch of people.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's on to a way lesser degree. It's the Half-Life Alyx thing of this game has been gone for such a long time. We want to bring it back, or not even that we want to bring it back. We want something that's going to bring people into VR. What's something that we could bring back to get people excited, or get a core audience into this thing that they've missed Resistance so much, make them consider buying VR. I think that would work. I think that could work. I think that could be an option. But I think either way, I think the VR answer is the boring answer, which probably means it's the right answer to this question in terms of what are they working on. To throw a couple in though, I do want to shout out, I would love for a multiplayer Ratchet game to come out. I loved Ratchet Deadlocked back in the day, and that had some of those elements of being in an arena shooter, and I think revisiting that in a way that's more focused on the multiplayer aspect of it and making it either PvP or PvE, either way works. I think that could be super cool. And then when you mentioned Spider-Man earlier in terms of a multiplayer Spider-Man game, you mentioned Ghost of Tsushima Legends, and it made me think of what if I could make my own Spider-Man and go through a bunch of like weird
like a Spider-Verse
shit. And that got me super hyped as I was thinking about that, and so I would love that also. But those are also the weird, non-realistic answers.
Yeah, no, for real. If Bill Roseman over there at Marvel Games is not talking to, you hope Insomniac, but I don't know what the actual deals are for, Spider-Man as a IP or whatever, but like talking to someone about like Spider-Verse, I, as a comic book fan in my entire life, I can't believe I live in a world where people understand the multiverse. And so like, now that that's out there, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, there should be some kind of action MMO or whatever you want to call it. Outriders kind of multiplayer game that is. The Spider-Verse is exploding, and you make your own Spider-Man from, this different head, different chest, different whatever, and then you go through and you have skill trees for the powers you're putting into and what you want to do with your webs and stuff, and then put it out there to go after all this crap. I don't know.
Like that Sonic game, but Spider-Man.
Sonic Forces, but Spider-Man, but good.
Yes.
But better
exactly, there's a lot of butts to that part, but
make other games that have already existed, but good. Like, what have we done? No one's thought of it before.
To go back to the Spider-Man conversation that we're having earlier, too, I think as PlayStation and as Insomniac, if we're making spin-offs and you want to make them dope ass spin-offs that people identify and they're like, cool, we want to play this even though it's not a mainline game, going from Spider-Man 1 to Spider-Man Miles Morales, which is a sexy title for a game, Spider-Man 2, all right, Miles Morales is not part of the core Spider-Man, what's gonna be the next spin-off? Spider-Man Spider-Verse, whatever you call it, right? That's another sexy title for a game. that's a good way to do it if you want to get people in, and you could make it multiplayer, and people wouldn't I think blink twice about it if you do position it as something that, hey, this is the main line, we're still making Spider-Man 3, but this other side thing we're really excited about because it is Spider-Verse, it is you making your own Spider-Man, it is all the things that you want from a Spider-Man spin-off title. I think that would go over super well.
That'd be insane.
Be super insane. But also like
insane.
to the whole spin-off conversation, you know, like we've never talked about a Ratchet and Clank spin-off, and so like maybe that's the one.
It's because we've already lived through so many of them. What are you talking about? Secret Agent Clank, Ratchet, all for one.
Was very quiet about Secret
a
Agent
current
Clank.
gen Spider-Man, or not Spider-Man, Ratchet and Clank spinoff is what I mean. That's like Uncharted Lost Legacy, Ratchet Lost Legacy.
Yeah, Janet before, hyping me up before this when she's like, I'm going to talk about Daxter. I'm like, we're talking about Secret Agent Clank, and the conversation got so far away from Secret Agent Clank. I just let it go.
There's always the second best time is right now. So if you have Secret Agent Clank,
we're kind of talking about it because like remake a game but make it good. Secret Agent Clank, there's juice to be had in Secret Agent Clank. It's a great concept of Clank as a secret agent, little tuxedo. The gameplay just wasn't there.
So then, what would that version modern be? It'd be like another one of the side mini missions, like you're fixing all these computer viruses, I guess, for an entire game.
God, no, please no.
You're going through that like portal where it's like there's a bunch of
Janet, no, you're making bad ideas. These are bad games that you're pitching.
Give me a whole glitch game.
Oh my god, watching Clank move. Yeah. Oh, this brings me.
PSP. Secret Agent Clank, everybody. This is what it was. This is what you did.
Man, I miss that old UI, that old Ratchet and Clank UI. I forgot how that looked.
It's crazy, yeah. Like, cause you play them nowadays, and like if you don't look back, you're like, oh yeah, like this is what you remember it looking like because it's got that DNA to it. But you come through and you look at it like, what the? Why is this? Why is this 47 out of 31 meter off the?
In the lead up, to the release, I don't know if it was like Insomniac or PlayStation or who, but they like posted like, oh, what was your first Ratchet game? And for me, it was like the first one. And then I looked at like a photo of it. I'm like, I'm gonna post like a photo from the game. I'm like, this looks really different than I remembered it looking at the time.
But here's the thing: the first Ratchet and Clank still had personality, which I liked. I played a little bit of it on Vita when I got the collection on Vita, and I was actually surprised by how good the animations still were and how good, like how much personality it had. You know, it still is a PS2 game from 2003 or whatever year that came out, but it has some cool things going for it still.
I like that you could use the wrench more. Like, I feel like they really stepped away from like the wrench melee combat. Like, you can still use melee combat, but it's clearly the inferior way to go about combat. And I feel like in those earlier iterations, it was a lot more even. So I kind of miss that in the franchise. Yeah, the old games are still worth playing.
Blessing, I'm sick of talking about old games. Tell me about some PlayStation picks. What's the new hotness?
Oh, let's get you some new hotness. Of course, PlayStation Picks is where we highlight a few of the cool-looking games coming to PSN this week. In terms of quote-unquote big hitters, we got Zombie Ate My Neighbors and Ghoul Patrol. That's coming out on PlayStation 4 on Tuesday, June 29th. We got Doom Eternal coming to PS5 on Tuesday, June 29th. And then Greedfall coming to PS5 on Wednesday, June 30th. As far as the picks themselves, let's start off with Curved Space, which is coming to PS5 and PS4 on Tuesday, June 29th. Curved Space is an intense arcade-style twin-stick shooter that takes the classic formula and plunges it into the weirdest reaches of space. Battle cosmic space-invading spiders across curved landscapes where bullets hug the terrain while the horizon drops sharply out of sight. I love that the gimmick for this game is that you're playing on curved space. It's fantastic.
You get it? Do you get it?
Yeah, because they're in space, but they're also on curved space.
These spiders look horrifying in this game. Oh my gosh, there's so many of them.
If you have arachnophobia, this ain't the game for you. This is not the game for you.
Props
not. I like that they're like, okay, Housemarque doesn't want to make Super Stardust HD anymore. We will.
It has a galaxy thing going on with the way you rotate around the areas.
Yeah.
This either looks super fun or super disorienting, and I can't tell which. And so if you play it, let me know. Let me know what you think it is.
Let me know if I can play it without getting car sick. This has been Blessing Adeoye Jr.
Exactly. We also got Doki Doki Literature Club Plus coming out on PS5 and PS4. Let's go, baby. This one's coming out on Wednesday, June 30th. Welcome to the club. Write poems for your crush and experience the terror of school romance in this critically acclaimed psychological horror story. I absolutely loved Doki Doki Literature Club. I cannot wait to get my hands on Plus to see some of the new content. And if you haven't played it, I would recommend it. But also, like, there's some trigger warnings you should go into before you play this game. If you are squeamish or if you get triggered by anything, definitely look those up before you jump into this game. But aside from that,
how long is it, Bless? That's my question.
I feel like I rushed through it in like one sitting. I rushed through it in like one sitting, and I feel like I did it in like 4.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess 4 to 6 hours.
But again,
probably.
with the new content, like I don't know like what that's gonna add to this new version, you know?
Yeah, it definitely took me 2 sittings, and it's one of those games that I think you got to be patient through.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to like visual novels, I think, to get a lot of value out of this game, but it does help if you do like visual novels. Like it is a visual novel game. And so go into it knowing that, but it does have a fun spin to it, which is pretty cool. And it looks like in the trailer here, you can go in and play some of the music, which is really cool because the game has excellent music in this game, and very cute characters.
I've never played. Like I said, I know it's highly recommended, and I know this will be my chance. This is gonna be my time.
I believe the original came out in 2017, and if you remember 2017, one of the best years in video game history. And this game still found a way to infiltrate my top 10 games of that year. And so that's the highest praise. It was alongside Destiny 2 and Wolfenstein: The New Order and Breath of the Wild and
same.
Nier
I think
Automata.
I think it was like my number 10 for that year.
Good. It was like my number 10 or 9. I don't have the list anymore, but it was definitely up there.
It was one of those games where like I would think about it like months later, just be like, Jesus.
I wish they put this out on the Vita. I know that's a big ask in 2021. I would love to play this game on the Vita because sitting at my TV for 4 hours with this game is going to be a lot.
I want Nick to play this game so fucking bad, and I want him to stream the entire thing. It needs to happen.
I think that is happening. I think that's going to be a good time, and so stay tuned for that. But that's it for your PlayStation picks.
Did it not come to Vita?
No.
I think that was. I think it was only PC when it came out.
Yeah, this is the first time it's coming to any other platform aside from PC. It might be coming to Switch. I think it's coming to Switch.
Yeah, it's not.
It's a homebrew thing. I'm confused about. My apologies.
Yeah,
it is coming to Switch, Joe. You're right. You're right about that. All right. Well, that'll be something I'll be playing soon. But for now, let's talk about what we're playing right now. And what I'd like from both of you is I will give you 5 seconds up front to laugh. All right. But I'd like to talk about Marvel's Avengers.
Jesus Christ. This guy, get a load of this guy. This guy can't get enough of this bad game. He even has a Superman thing at the back of his screen.
They had to blur out. Did you see E3 by any chance?
I did see E3. Yeah, that was hilarious.
When I sat down to interview the people about Guardians of the Galaxy, I thought about the old Superman thing, but I was like, you know what? They're paying me to host, not produce, so I'm not going to mention it. So I just sat down. I did the interview. Great. And then when it went live, this huge blur they put across this entire part of my screen to hide all my Superman.
I didn't notice that. Oh my god.
I was like, if you would have asked me at the time, I could have taken it down, put up something Marvel, but no big deal. All right, so if it's out of your system now, I know I talk about Avengers all the time and jovial senses.
It's not, but you may continue.
Thank you very much, Janet. The one thing we usually talk about with Avengers is how they fuck something up, how they leak somebody's IP address, all these other things, right? What I want to talk about instead is they dropped the July or June update here. That was the new villain sector, which is the scientist supreme from the game. It's called Beating the Odds, and they need to be commended for making an incredibly great villain sector. I played it with Goldfarb last night, and it's honestly the kind of content I've been asking for since launch, where it is the normal thing, obviously, going through, punching a bunch of shit, throwing my shield around his Cap, dressed as endgame Cap now, no big deal. But going through and fighting and doing all that stuff, but getting into rooms now and be like, wait, how do we open these things? Wait, we have to break these things. How do we break them? Having new things where we actually have to think and talk. And then the actual fight itself at the end is this deal where Monica from the game, if you remember her, the scientist supreme, is in the center, and then you have to fight all of her clones around you. And then every so often she'll lower her shield to do a big attack to you. And it was that thing where Goldfarb and I must have failed maybe 4 times. And it was that idea of like, what do we, it felt, and I'm using this, it was 45 minutes of game playing it, right? So I'm using this loosely, but it gave that raid feel of like, fuck, all right, cool. Well, what were you doing? That didn't work. Okay, I was doing this. Okay, wait, I survived by doing this. Okay. Actually having to do that thing where you piece it all together. We didn't watch any Let's Plays. We didn't figure anything out. And then getting to the end of like, she keeps killing us here. How do we have to do this? Well, I think we have to pour on damage here, yada, yada, yada. Like, there was actually a communication to it. It didn't feel like any of the other fights in the game, which are immediately afterwards, we went and did some of the other stuff for one of the events. And it was just like, all right, there's the abomination or whatever. You just beat the shit out of him over and over again. You know what I mean? This was a thinking. You had to think about it. You had to do it. It had cutscenes in the front and the back and the middle of it in terms of like what's going on with the actual narrative and the story. I had a great time with it. I really, really liked it. And then with that reinvigorating us, we did some of the cosmic event stuff that's happening right now, which is, again, what I asked for in my episode of The Blessing Show, which was you have all these old missions, just take them and repurpose them for events that give us cool rewards. And it's exactly that, where it's replaying old missions, but now the bad guys are imbued with cosmic abilities. So you're going through fighting harder enemies, which is, giving you new rewards, which is, now unlocking they have a champion XP system, which is like badass points in Borderlands. So you're even now as somebody who's, max level and all that stuff, I have something to earn to make my character stronger to go on and do the whole thing. I actually started looking into exotic armors last night. I know when I did last week when they put up their new roadmap that includes a giant, or not a giant thing, a challenging event for next month, and then obviously Black Panther in August. They had talked about that they understand people want builds. They're looking into getting that all set and to go for that and stuff. So basically what I'm saying is I had a great night with Avengers for the first time in a long time. As much as I joke around about Avengers, they actually put in some really great content for it, and I'm excited to see if they can keep that up, what War for Wakanda will be, what the Omega threat level mission for next week will be. And it's that same thing of me and Goldfarb had a lot of fun last night, and we're excited to go back tonight because I got there's a few new little mission chains I need to finish to get the piece of armor to do the thing, to get over the thing. So just wanted to say, now that you've all got out of your system, you can go back to making fun of me. Thank you for giving me my moment to talk about Avengers. All right.
I'm glad you're having fun with the game that you like. Right? You like it, right? You do like it, genuinely.
I do like it. Yeah, I do like it.
Okay, well, that's good. It's rare to find games you like.
Exactly.
Blink twice if you need help. Blink twice if the developers are on the other side of your screen.
Listen here, you little jerk. I was saying I was the one defending you. I defended your back during the GTA 5 thing when they were all telling you to stop playing it. I said, play what you want. I need you on my side of the argument right now. All right, I need you right now.
Double mistake.
Yeah, if Brad can play Marvel's Avengers, I can play GTA Online.
I think we're traveling in the wrong direction as a community here today on the show.
Let us play our guilty pleasures, damn it.
Well, and then the other thing I started this morning, ad store game, so I guess it's okay.
Janet, you have a guilty pleasure of a video game? What's your guilty pleasure?
Jack and Dexter.
Probably that Man of Medan stuff that's going on. That's pretty whack.
That's not a guilty pleasure. All of us here are going to play Man of Medan.
First off, Man of Medan's the old one, blessing. All right, you claim you have 6 trophies in it. All right, the other one's House of Ashes. Right?
You only need the 6 trophies to beat the game. I think.
Just saying what we're all thinking.
I definitely beat the game though.
I would honestly, personally, I would put those as guilty pleasures, and not in a terrible way. Like I think they're
I'm talking about guilty pleasures.
To me sorry.
Well, for me, what constitutes our games is like guiltier pleasures is the amount of time that we put into them. Because I don't know how many hours you got into Avengers, but however many hours it is, it's too much. And I've gotten like 500 something hours into GTA Online, which isn't like
GTA Online is good. So
I wouldn't
it's like
classify
I don't know, you spend
them
a lot
as
of time with a good
guilty
game.
pleasures, but more of like
in 2021 GTA Online
obsessions, maybe unhealthy obsessions. Yeah.
Okay. But like 500 something hours in the GTA Online isn't unhealthy. That's like
no, that's very unhealthy.
The game came out in 2013.
It's very.
That's like a few hours a day.
I just want to know why it's on your 2021 release calendar. That's why.
That's
fine. Oh, Greg, you were going to say something, right? So now
Oh yeah, I was going to say I would put Dark Pictures Anthology, and not guilty pleasures like you should be horrified of it, but I think the term we're talking about, there's there's better games to play, but you're getting enjoyment out of them. It's the same way I think when you watch some people would say all horror movies. I would say like a B horror movie, right? Where you're like, sure, there's better horror movies, but I'm enjoying this for a reason. And I think Until Dawn did a great job of giving you that. Hey, it's a teen horror movie, or maybe young. I know what you did last summer kind of horror movie kind of vibes. Whereas I think Dark Pictures Anthology so far, and I really should only speak for Man of Medan. It's slipped a little bit more towards like, okay, this is like a low budget horror movie that isn't that great, but I'll go through and then critique every decision people make throughout it.
Yep.
Janet, what's an online game that you play that makes you ashamed whenever you boot it up?
I don't feel, maybe that's my problem. I don't feel shame as often as I probably should. That's probably why my ego's so big, but I don't have anything like that. I mean, I think I've put a lot of time into Animal Crossing. I think the most shame I have with Animal Crossing is that I've put so many hours, but my island still looks so ugly. Like you would think it would look nice, but no, I have the hours of someone with a nice island, but the island that I have, which is not nice. And then other than that, I think Splatoon 2 is the only thing I've sunk a lot of like online time into. But I don't play a lot of online stuff. I'm more of a single player person. So I usually like I'm in, I'm out, and then I'm done. Yeah, 480 in Animal Crossing for hours, at least.
Oh, for in the newest one?
Yeah.
God damn.
That's good. Those are some
good
numbers.
That's really good.
Good
that's
numbers
really good.
over there. Janet, what have you been playing recently?
Yeah, I've been playing Chicory. I'm not gonna lie, I am salty that Blessing finished it before me because I started before him. I told him he should play it, and then I feel like I got lapped. You know what I mean? It's not a competition, but it just feels like I'm embarrassed to come here and be like, oh, I'm still chapter 4 or whatever. But I've sunk a lot of hours into that. I'm like 8 hours in for no reason. I remember texting Blessing about it yesterday, and he's like, how are you not farther in this game? And I'm just taking it really slow. I'm painting, I'm talking to everybody. What I'm loving about it is that it just lends itself so well to just enjoying it. Like, I think especially when I play games really quickly, I'm trying to get to the next thing. This is one where I'm like, I'm going to take my time because it's that good that I don't even care that this is not efficient. And I'm really having fun with that. And then I'm dipping into Scarlet Nexus too. I want to get more into that. I only played maybe like an hour, but I'm enjoying it just from like I like the shtick of the telekinetic powers. I realized, we all have things that we really like in games. And for me, telekinetic powers or funky abilities that come from your hands of any form are things that I just genuinely enjoy a lot. Like I loved it in Control. I loved it in the small bit of BioShock I played because I still haven't finished that, backlog. But yeah, that's basically what I'm digging into and I'm having a really good time with it.
That's a very specific thing that I you're 100% right on in terms of special abilities that come from your hands. Like I'm right there with you. Whenever I'm doing like fucking like fireballs or telekinesis, I'm always like, this is a great time. This is a great game.
Also, Scarlet Nexus has like really, to me, like horrific enemy design. Like even just in that kind of opening tutorial area, I was just like, this is hella scary. But I'm into it, and I think it. Some of I've been doing a lot of talking to people in that game too, and like. It's a little bit basic in that regard. It's a lot of like, a citizen number 7 says, hey, this is what's going on. But I'm still enjoying doing those little pieces. So we'll see how it progresses because, with the game that long, it could definitely, fall apart later. But I enjoyed that kind of opening section. I'm excited to play more of it.
Blessing, how deep are you in this?
In Scarlet Nexus? I'm only about an hour or so in. I fell off pretty early because the story just wasn't capturing me from the get-go. The cutscenes seem to be all, or at least mostly, almost like static visual novel-y kind of cutscenes where you hear the voiceover over the cutscenes, but it is a lot of images and just illustrations of what's going on, which I'm not a big fan of. Even though with the thing that Barrett's playing right now, like those are actual cutscenes, which I've not seen much of so far. So maybe that lets up.
I was about to say, I was like, what? Like, are you playing a different version of the game or something? Because it feels like
I don't know.
I've
not seen any shit like this happen so far in the game. But
a little bit of it, but I do get what you're saying. It is very visual novel-y, but I think they add a couple dimensions with the boxes that help. I know it sounds very basic, but like when it comes to visual novels, a little bit goes a long way, and I think they have enough to pull it off. But I get what you're saying.
But yeah, and I've also heard pretty much everybody who I've talked to about this game seems to feel that the story just isn't it. Like it's not interesting. The characters aren't as interesting, and I'm getting that within the first hour, but. The thing that I liked playing it was the combat, and the more I talk to people, like my roommate Michael Hyam is obsessed with it right now, and the thing that he told me was like, he's never played a game with such a gap between the quality of how good the combat is and how bad the story is, and he is obsessed with the combat. He keeps talking about it, and I'm like, dude, should I go back to it and just skip the cutscenes and just do the gameplay? And he's like, yeah, dude, if you want to play it like that, play it like that. And so that's enticed me a little bit, but. Going back to my super fun games schedule calendar of 2021,
who's going to find the time?
Who's going to find the time?
Blessing, you also been playing that there, Chicory. You beat it. But here's the thing is we don't want to talk too much about it because I started playing it. Janet's playing it. We'll see if I can beat it and lap Janet on that too. But the idea, ladies and gentlemen, of course, is that here in the United States next week, it's 4th of July. And so we will be taking Monday off of work, which usually wouldn't affect you for a Tuesday episode of PS I Love You, right? But we have to record it sometime. So we're actually recording it on Friday. And so I want to save that and make it a review because I think we're all pretty high on the game. We can talk about it there. And then any news that may or may not break throughout the week in PlayStation land. So Chicory, first off, thumbs up, thumbs down. Should people play it for Friday?
Big thumbs up. I would say anybody and everybody should go check out Chicory. It is an amazing game. Like it is incredible. But the thing I'll say about me lapping Janet in the game is that I mainlined it for the most part. Like I did some painting. I actually did a lot of painting, but I wasn't as detailed in my paintings. And so Janet would send me screenshots of her game, and I'm like, ridiculous. You have actual designs going on over here. Like you are painting star patterns. You're doing patterns, which is the thing that I never did. I was just filling in colors.
You're just holding down L2, right? And just going boom, orange, fine, next room.
But you can do that with the patterns, like when you get the little brush types. So it's the same amount of work. It's just like just use the D-pad.
Yeah, but I'm not.
Don't give him any outs. You're better than him. All right. That's
I talked to. Yeah, you are.
I
No,
got
you
better,
1000% are. But I talked to characters, but I didn't like try to talk to every single character. And
Hey,
so
man, you're
for the
the
most
wielder.
part,
Like, I can't wait to talk about this on Friday. I'm so excited.
yeah, I'm excited for the conversation, but because yeah, I really dig it. But I mainlined it for the most part. Even then, it took me about 10 hours to beat. And so like it's a bit of a longer game for the kind of game that it is, but I would say it's worth playing through because it's up there in terms of I would say the memorable indie games I've played over the last decade or so. I guess over the timeline of big indie titles, Chicory I put up there is like one that I played, and I put up there as like one of the better ones I played. And so
yeah, I'm only a chapter and a half in. I'm having a great time though. I'm excited to see how it keeps going. But beyond Chicory, what have you been playing, Bliss?
What have I been playing? I've been playing a lot of Guilty Gear. I think I talked about this a little bit last week, but I've been doing a lot of the ranked system, and the way that the game does it is it's floor by floor. And so you start off at a lower floor, and then the more games you win, it'll put you up to a higher floor. And so like I believe the highest floor you can get to, I forget exactly which one it is, but it's either floor 11 or 12, and it's a floor called Heaven, essentially. And if you want to stay at Heaven, what you have to do is you have to win a certain amount of matches in a row. Otherwise, it kicks you back down to the previous floor. And that's like where the best of the best are. And right now I'm at floor 8. Like last week this time, I think I was at like floor 6 or so. But it's been that fun thing of getting better and better as I play. This Guilty Gear is my first Guilty Gear game, and so I bought it, I want to say Sunday last week, and so I've had it for a little bit over a week, and I've felt myself getting better at the game, and it's been that fun thing of, I think last week I talked about how beginner friendly it is, and now that I'm a week in, it's super cool to see that the game just continues to have more and more depth as I play it, which is great for any fighting game. Like every fighting game should feel that way, but for me as somebody who historically I really like fighting games, and 2D fighters are the ones that I usually have the most trouble with, but coming off of Dragon Ball FighterZ, jumping into this game has been such a fun experience of not feeling like it's too technical, or I have to be too frame perfect, or I have to know all the different combos and the different mix-ups and all that stuff. I'm going in with just my regular knowledge, like regular fighting game knowledge, and adapting it to this game, and it's working super well in a way that's really fun. And yeah, I'm having an absolute blast with it.
Now I have a follow-up question. You got this on the behest of a viewer from Games Daily who wanted to challenge you in this game, and so do we have any follow-ups on that, Blessing?
I've not challenged that viewer yet.
Coward.
Yeah, I am. For the first few days of me playing this game, I was not playing against anybody who I knew, because I wanted to get my reps in. I wanted to train myself up before I did that. And then a few days ago, I did do a fight night type thing on my Twitch channel with a few people in the games media side of the industry. And so Mitchell Saltzman was there.
Did he kick your ass? Did he like absolutely obliterate you?
I forget if he did. The crazy thing about Guilty Gear is that like there are people in there that I'll consider like dope ass fighting game players. Like my friend Keylock was in there, and Keylock is maybe the best fighting game player I know. My friend DJ Chris was in there. DJ Chris is phenomenal at fighting games. There are quite a few people in there that are super dope fighting game players, and even them, I felt like I was able to hold my own. Like I was still losing most of the time, but there were a few of those matches that I was winning. And Guilty Gear, I don't know if it's the game or I don't know if it's just the way I was playing, but it seems to be I guess like open enough to where it never feels like you're getting steamrolled. Like nobody there, I never felt like anybody there was absolutely steamrolling me. Keylock for the most part was, but there would be 1 or 2 rounds in there that I would get him down, and I'd be like, oh snap, all right, like it's possible for me to at least win a round against this guy who I consider to be fucking phenomenal, like way better than I am at fighting games. And so yeah, to follow up though, I am gonna play the person who wrote in on KFGD. I still gotta add him on PlayStation. I forget if it might have been Ali, it might have been somebody else, I forget who, but I'm gonna find them, I'm gonna face them, and they are going to have to go against my Ramlethal Valentine, who is refined. I am refined with that character, and so come face me. My mid range is fantastic.
Damn, it's pretty confident. You know what I mean?
It is what it is, man. That's the kind of attitude you have to have when it comes to Guilty Gear.
It's one of those things where it seems like a false sense of confidence because you're in here and I'm like, did Mitchell Saltzman stomp you?
I mean,
And you're like, I can't remember, but I DM'd him while you were talking, and I said, "Did you stomp Blessed Guilty Gear?" And he says, "I mean, here's what I'll say."
Damn.
Greg,
I played like 100 hours of that game, and he took a game off me, which is pretty dang good.
All right.
Okay. Greg, you seem to know a lot about having a false sense of confidence, right?
Yeah, that's true.
It seems you know
Barrett,
a
here
lot.
on the notes,
You
it
seems
says
you know
a question about Ratchet trophies.
It seems like you know a lot about
Barrett,
talking
sounds like
shit
you have
in
a
a
question
video
about
game and
Ratchet
getting
trophies.
stomped right
I
after.
hear there was a lot of yapping and not a lot of happening with one Mario Golf.
I'll say the same thing I've said from day one.
You know, people were talking to me about that Mario Golf thing. What went down? Like in my chat when I was streaming, they're like, "Did you see what happened?"
Janet.
I don't know what y'all talking about.
Greg went down. That's what went down. Greg.
2 strokes. I lost to Andy. All right.
Yeah.
And you know why? It's because I'll
Still
tell you
lost.
why. Andy beat me. Don't get me wrong. Andy beat me in Mario Golf. Everybody by 2 strokes. Andy beat me, and I probably did have a false sense of confidence because, as everyone knows, I'm better at Andy than everybody's golf. Those Let's Plays are up on youtube.com/kindafunnygames. That's a real golf game on a real console, the PlayStation. All right. So I came in, of course. I'm out here using complicated machinery. PlayStation's playing over here a real game with strategy. Everybody's golf is something you have to think about. I came in and it's goo goo gaga, this baby's toy. Andy's able to beat me because it's just like Mario Party. Janet, you played Mario Party. Anything can happen. It doesn't matter.
I'm just saying, like you had like what, a week or 2 with the game before Andy even got it. When you guys started playing, Andy had that game for a total of like 6 hours. So like, I'm just saying, Greg.
But I'm just saying right now, you could bring in Tiddlywinks right now and tell me how to play Tiddlywinks. I could beat you. I could lose to you. That's how it works. It's a baby's game. Bear, what's your question about Ratchet trophies?
So I finally got back into Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart last night because I was trying to beat it before I went home for Cleveland for a week. Was not able to do that, and then took a week off, and then was trying to come back hard last night. Got to the right before the point of no return, essentially in the story, and I'm using this time to kind of like wrap some trophy stuff up to work towards the platinum. I know I think I have like 3 trophies left behind besides the platinum trophy. So one of them is like the last story mission. The other one is buy all of the guns, which I know there's like a 2 or 3 maybe in the challenge mode that you have to unlock there. And then the third one that I have is return policy, which is kill 10 enemies by returning shots with the void reactor. I have barely used the void shield, which I think is what it starts out as, and then once you upgrade it later, it becomes the void reactor. So like I'm on like level 2 with the void shield, and I'm just wondering because like I'm at the point where like even when I go to other planets, because I went through the story side of them, there's not a lot of enemies to fight, and so like I started the grind of just going to the fight arena and just like using that to grind out the void shield to turn it into the reactor. Is that the best way to be doing it? And then like also like I'm kind of low on crystals, and I feel like I also need crystals to be able to like fully upgrade it to the void reactor. I don't know how that works. So I'm just wondering where I'm
rusty.
at with,
What I did the exact thing you're talking about though. I went to the room and I just went over and over again to use it to level it up because I think it's the final level gives you the ability to cache and reflect back the things. And so it's not if you can then use your points like you're saying when you go to Miss Zircon to make upgrade it to catch more shots, to do more damage and shit like that, which if you have the means I would recommend doing, just make sure you're doing it as efficiently as possible. But yeah, you're on the right course.
Okay. Yeah, I will say that trophy was a bitch for me. I hated getting that trophy because
when I started grinding it, I was thinking in my house like I guarantee this is the part where Blessing started to like turn on this game.
that was the part where I started breaking down, and I was like, I fucking can't stand this. I want to put this down now. Where I just wasn't. Well, I had to beat you in the trophy race. Otherwise, I probably would have honestly. But that was one that I wish I had read the trophies before I even started the game and kept track of certain things like that. Because if I was trying to get that trophy as I was playing through the main campaign, it probably would have been a little more
natural.
But I just wasn't using the void reactor in that way, just because I didn't like the gun.
Yeah,
much.
I don't like the base version of it. Maybe I'll change my tune like once I get the void reactor and I can like actually like reflect bullets or whatever, or catch ammo or whatever, however the fuck it works. But like as its base version, like I would like I'm cycling through like every other weapon besides that one. So like now that I actually have to take a moment and do all that is
the thing that sucks about it is that I like the idea of the guns so much. I think whoever came up with the design for it and like the idea for it, 10 out of 10. It's just the execution on it where I'm like, this just isn't as useful as I want it to be.
Yeah.
And it took me so many rounds of the arena mode to actually get that trophy. And again, it doesn't track. And so you just have to like hope that you're doing it the right way. And I assume for me, I probably wasn't doing it the right way a lot of the time. It took me opening up a YouTube video and watching somebody get the trophy, and
to like see how to like best utilize it and stuff like that.
Yeah, to like see like, okay, what am I doing wrong here? And I think, and I didn't get a clear answer. I think what it is that you have to wait until you fill that thing up with the bullets, which I think takes about 5 or 6 shots into it, and then release it.
Okay.
Because that's when I finally popped it. But when I was doing it,
one.
Oh, okay.
You did one by one. Okay, then I had no idea.
Because it doesn't track, which sucks. Because I kept going to it expecting it to be like 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10. It didn't do it. I thought I had 0, so I thought I was doing it wrong for the longest time. But I eventually didn't even use the battle rooms because they weren't giving me enemies who shot shit. I went to one of the planets where early on you get a couple flying dudes at you, and so I would just catch their thing, shoot the one back at them, see that it hit, shoot one back at him over and over again to finally knock it out.
That might be a better way to do it, because the thing that I kept running into also in the battle room was that I guess I would also kill people with my shield as opposed to
if you're too close to them, you set it off, it blasts them and kills them too.
Yeah, and in the battle room, there's not that much room to get super far away from people and do it accurately, because there's so many people and you're trying to live while doing this trophy thing. It wasn't as efficient.
All right. Well, we'll see if I burn out as quickly as Blessing did on this one.
You got this, Barrett. All right, I believe in you.
It took me only when I started doing it. It only did take me like an hour, but it was just a long ass hour. It was a long, frustrating hour.
That's not too bad. I was thinking it was gonna take me. It felt like it took a while for me to even level up to level 2 last night. So that was like the thing that I was concerned about, of like what's the actual man hours that I'm gonna be putting into this. So if it's not that long, then it shouldn't be too bad. And then all I have to do is beat the game and then pretty much restart it and buy the last 2 weapons. Bing bang boom, got the platinum.
Nice.
Then I'll officially have more platinums than Blessing again, because you tied it up.
Wait, will you?
You tied it up.
I
was ahead. I was ahead of you for the longest time, and then you got to 12 platinums, and I was like, oh shit, we have the same amount of platinum. So,
but I have more than 12 platinums now. I think, right? I got like 14.
You have 13 according to PSN profiles, but that's without me. Thing.
So you surpassed me. You surpassed me.
Yeah, because I got 3 in the last month.
Barrett, buy the head-to-head games. You can get platinums real quick. Don't worry about it.
Greg, are we still on the same level? We're still on silver tier, so we're like the same.
Yeah, I think all of us here are silver.
Yeah, we're all silver. That's pretty.
We're all
cool,
like
man.
pretty even in terms of our trophies.
Yeah.
I think I'm behind because I don't have that many platinums.
Oh, you should check. You might be silver too.
Yeah, and then we'd all be the same level, same as Greg.
Yeah. Because I think I'm silver off of a lot of my gold trophies as well.
I plan to get I think I'm gonna platinum Chicory, and I plan to platinum Jack and Daxter later in the year, the anniversary.
Ladies and gentlemen,
is there an anniversary version of Jack, or are you just saying for the anniversary?
Just for the anniversary, like it's my own. It's how I'm choosing to celebrate the holiday. You know, and how y'all are gonna celebrate. we all celebrate in our own ways.
Yeah, I'm not pushing it on you. I don't know how you'll celebrate the holiday, but it's there for you if you want it. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been PS I Love You XOXO. Remember, each and every week we come together to talk about all things we love about PlayStations, all the things they're screwing up, all the things we change about PlayStation. It's your PlayStation podcast. If you like that, you can be part of it over at patreon.com/kindafunnygames with your questions, comments, concerns, and everything under the Shuhei sun. Of course, then you could be watching it live as we record it. You could get it ad-free. You could get it with the exclusive post show we're about to do on patreon.com/kindafunnygames. But if you have no bucks to toss our way, it's no big deal. You can get us on youtube.com/kindafunnygames, roosterteeth.com, podcast services each and every Tuesday, 6 a.m. It's got ads. It doesn't have the post show. It's not live, but it's still a damn fine show. Janet, where can people keep up with you as our newest member?
You can follow me on social media, Twitch, everywhere under the handle GameOnysus. That's Game ONYSUS.
And what's your PSN profile? You put that out there? Is that something you put on?
Yeah, it's JanetG94. If you add me, I won't accept you, but you can look at whatever you want.
Even me?
Open. I think I already have. No, I don't have you. I'll accept you so I can send like pertinent clips of things. That's what I do with Blessing. I'll send him like FIFA L's, I think.
I love that Janet is the only person I know who actually uses the messaging function on the PlayStation. We're all just get a random message from Janet. It's a screenshot of FIFA, and I'm like, good for you, Janet. I'm glad to be
like I thought this was a place to connect with friends. Am I the only one doing this? It's so awkward.
You're the only one on my friends list, but I don't mind it. I actually love it because it makes me excited.
Its own little thing.
Yeah, for me, it's like when I need to put up an image on Twitter, but I want to write the tweet outside of it, I just message all my screenshots and videos to Jen. So like there's just a PSN thing that's just all these images and videos to her with no response ever.
That's what I started doing to Janet during a trophy race. Whenever I'll get a new platinum, I'll send Janet the picture, mainly so I could save it off my phone, but as a double, I could get to rub it. I
actually saw him get the last platinum while I was live. It was like so embarrassing. I'm like, oh nope, never mind, y'all. We're not gonna stream this for the next 30 hours.
Not do that. All right, Janet, I'm sending you my friend request right now.
Janet, in fact, you can change your PlayStation settings so that you can only be added by friends of friends.
Oh, I do have that part there.
Okay,
but that's what I mean. If you're listening, you're probably not a friend of a friend, but maybe you are. I don't know. Try it and see what happens.
Ladies and gentlemen, everybody message Janet G94 on PlayStation and see what happens. Until then, we got a post show to do, so it's been our pleasure to serve you.